press into my temples and make my brain work.
I'm not sure that's how that works, Nate.
I'm hoping like if
we have that recorded.
I'm glad if I hit these pressure points, it might alleviate some of the fucking nerve pain I'm getting.
We should have started with that. Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the War Movie Review Podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we take a look at films from the dawn of cinema to today. We aim to provide a raw and unapologetic review of each film's cinematography, historical accuracy, and delivery. In the process of analysis, certain details will be revealed. These spoilers are only divulged to ensure a fair assessment of each film. We head back into the trenches this week with Edward Berger's 2022 adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front. As always, I'm joined by Mike A.
Hello.
Mike B.
Yep.
Nate.
Battlefield won the movie. Blah.
And friend of the channel and podcast, Sean.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm so used to going last, so I was like thrown off, and my brain hurts today. So
that's a
who wants to go? Who wants to dive down this rabbit hole?
Well, Brian's got to lead this bitch. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, I'll leave this by saying I think Sean should go first.
Oh,
so
are
you World War I knower, Sean?
Some would say so, but I wouldn't. I was really excited for this movie as I love the 1930s version. It's one of my favorite versions, and I was a little let down by this one. I liked it as a whole, but ultimately, I think it's a good World War I movie. I don't think it's a good All Quiet on the Western Front adaptation. Is my take on this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've read the book. I've seen the movie. This is not a good All Quiet adaptation.
Who you pass the baton off to?
Nate.
Oh, okay. I'm all here.
Oh, bother! I lost my tail again.
No, my brain hurts, so it's hard to talk. Yeah. So I think I'm the only one here who hasn't seen the 1930s or read the book or the 1970s version. Apparently, no one talks about.
Okay, so
that's actually that's a good thing, though.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
I'm full on.
I hear mixed things about the 70s.
Yeah, I'm full on cold turkey on this. Like,
okay,
I haven't even seen clips of the original 1930s. I know that's like heresy.
No, this is good because this is a good thing. Just go ahead, Nate.
Yeah. So I mean, just to kind of go off into it, I guess the way Sean did, and I'll give a very small take on it. Is that I liked. To go about it as I guess what I really enjoy in films the most is editing and cinematography. And cinematography wise, I thought this was a very unique, very well laid out cinematography wise movie. I thought it was really well done. The editing to an extent was the same, and I really liked the way things were shot. However, there are some things where, and I say this after this for this reason, is that there are some things in this film that they did just to get the cinematic shot and would not be historically, I don't know, what I would perceive not to be historically accurate or even smart to do in a sense. And I'll get into that later, but I mean, like, overall, I mean, it was very interesting, but I felt like at the end of it where I just kind of went, okay, I get it, but why'd you go that way? Or why'd you do it this way? And there was a lot of that where I didn't hate it and I enjoyed it, but there were just like a why is this? Oh, okay. So that's kind of like my 2-minute.
Oh, really quick. I know you're hurting, Nate. Like you got a migraine and everything. But
yeah.
Like, in this particular case, because the rest of us four have seen at least one of the previous iterations of the film, and or read the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, with you being a complete virgin, like going into this with nothing, I actually want you to talk more now, and then we can discuss things later.
Okay.
Like, I want you to like I think it'd be really good because here's the thing: is there's a lot of people that I've encountered that don't know anything about this story. They know of the title, but they never read it. they're younger people and they don't understand, and they say, "Yeah, I loved it," or "I was like, I don't know, like I don't know, it's weird." So, I mean, do you guys also agree? Like, I think we should get his
Yeah,
opinion first.
What
Yeah,
did you
sure.
think of the story
Yes,
of All
like
Quiet on the Western
exactly.
Front?
Like, what did you think of the entire? Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to ask him. So yeah, thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where did the West Front touch you?
In the brain.
Bayonet through the heart, apparently. Yeah, in the brain. Yeah, gave me a migraine.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, it's hard because I mean, like, I understand the message throughout the whole film of what they're trying to convey, and I understand that there's I didn't dislike this. If we're talking about like the story, like to and from the
Mhm.
story, not the historical things I could see, not the cinematic and the editing, like
No,
the
we're talking about the story
like
itself.
the story
Yeah.
itself. I mean, it was interesting. It is a take of something that I don't think I've really seen to the extent of what this one did. However, like I didn't understand like, okay, story wise, I didn't get why the fuck Cat got killed by a farmer's son. That was fucking stupid,
Okay.
and I don't understand. Just have him get blown up by a fucking mortar. It's literally
Yeah.
the same
Nobody says
fucking
anything.
thing.
Nobody says anything.
Like, so like
Nobody
that's
says anything.
that's
Yeah,
that's
yep.
the thing that fucking just was like, what the fuck? Like really? Okay, that was out of left field. A character I don't fucking okay, cool.
So yeah, keep going with that kind of stuff. Like, this is why I'm
Yeah.
asking you. Like
And then-
Sean was,
and
we're all
then-
asking you. Yeah.
And then, like, I get the fact that, they're trying to show that the main character dies for nothing literally at the very end. However, I feel like it's more poignant to have him survive than die at the very end the way he did. But I mean, again, that's just me looking at it on the
Yep.
outside. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, like, I thought because it's hard to talk about a story without comparing it to anything else, which is I know what people are going to want to hear. But like for me,
No, but this is why I'm asking.
Yeah,
you, we're asking you. 'cause,
for
like,
me, cold turkey. It's like I thought the prospect of following a kid from the start to the finish was very interesting. I don't understand why they did giant time leaps, but I guess it's to show progression in how hardiness he is and all that kind of stuff. But
You're like the control unit, Nathan, because you haven't been exposed. to
Exactly.
anything.
Right,
That's
yeah.
why I want you.
Funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not funny. It's just it's also interesting because this is one of the first times.
What we're talking about.
no,
Yeah, this is one of the only times on this podcast that one of us
and I've
has-
kept myself in the dark for this reason. I didn't go
Right.
and look at anything else because I wanted
I
to
appreciate
get like
that.
a very, very
Yep.
first introduction.
and
to
that's
the
why
film.
you'll be talking a lot at the beginning, and then you can kind of like relax a bit.
Right.
But we want to get your view as the control, like Sean said, of okay. So the story. What did you like about the story? First of all,
I liked the character development. I liked the bonding and relationship between Kat and and Paul. I liked that
Okay.
a lot. I thought that was a very interesting. I mean, it's cliche, but obviously, but I liked that a lot, and I liked how they went about kind of forming that bond through the whole thing, and I liked how the emphasis on how out of touch the officers are, or the generals are, with giving them the separation between ego and career versus the lives of these guys who literally could have, if this guy didn't have a fucking ego, they would live. Like, it's a very, I thought that was also a very strong part of the whole entire story as a whole. Yeah, those are the two things that really stood out to me. The friends and stuff, I mean, like, I get it. I understand it, but they weren't as strong as as Kat and Paul's relationship and the total crescendo of the last little bit where the officer's just like, well, I gotta fucking like win before this whole ends. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, it does. But like, so what did you dislike as somebody just going into this? Because I know we're about to
okay.
talk, but like, yeah.
My question is, what do you want me to talk? When you want me to talk about what I
Yeah, we
dislike,
can poke and prod
do
about
you
everything.
want?
Not-
Do you, I mean,
yeah.
do you
No,
want?
just like
Do you want me
as
to go
far as
into
the story. The story. We're on the story. We're on the story.
Oh.
So what did you dislike about the story? What did not sit well with you as far as the story is concerned?
I didn't. I understand the reasoning behind like the way it was played out in the movie of him, killing the French guy and then realizing that and going, "Oh fuck, I shoved dirt in your mouth." So that was not a good idea. Um, and having sympathy going from hard cold killer to having like pure sympathy and shock and of what he did and all that kind of stuff. Like I get that, but it felt very. I don't know. It's like certain points in this story, the way it went out just felt very out of place or
So
very.
basically, Nathan, you like everything that's not in the book or the original movie, and the parts that are like the centerpieces of the original movie and book.
I
you
figured
don't
that. I
like.
figured that. Well, I mean, like, here's the thing. It's like maybe it's because I really think it's because of the way the film itself portrayed it. Because, like,
Yeah.
I can say I like the story. If I read that on paper, I would probably not that I'm
do I have a book
Yeah, no.
recommendation?
yeah,
for you?
yeah, not that I'm like pulling back what I'm saying, but like in terms of the visual, of watching the story visually with this movie, those are the parts that stood out to me. So maybe that's what they put a real big emphasis on really nailing down versus the stuff that I'm kind of like, man, is the stuff that kind of was like glossed over. But I don't know if I answered that question right or not.
Nathan, when was the last time you saw Osama bin Laden?
2009.
All right, who's next?
Right.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Michael,
I
what did you think?
am gonna hold that silence in there. I am not cutting that silence.
People are gonna stop watching.
Yeah.
My interrogation is over, Nate. I'm sorry, but
It's
like,
okay.
no,
No.
it's good.
It's fine.
good.
Yeah.
Pakistan, we got it.
All right. So who is next? Brian, you're in charge.
Michael, what do you think?
So I did kind of the opposite of Nate, and yesterday I listened to the entire audiobook of the original book while I was working, and because I've seen the two films, the two other adaptations of this, I saw them years ago, and I've seen the 1931 a couple times.
You saw the 1970s one too?
Yeah, that was actually the first one I saw. That was
Yep.
out of all of them, that was the first one I saw. And then I saw the 1931, and I thought it was better, so I watched it again. And so, but then we were talking about doing this one, and we were talking about the source material and all that. And so I was like, okay, well, I mean, an audiobook is like 6 hours, whatever. That's about as, a little bit shorter than, a typical workday. And so I'll just have that playing and listen to the entire thing. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a really good book. Obviously, it's very well done, very well written and stuff, and just tells a lot of really interesting things. And then I watched the movie and was very underwhelmed. I about halfway, maybe a little past the halfway point, I was like, "Why is this even called All Quiet on the Western Front? This is like it's its own movie, but like it's just taking stuff from All Quiet that it kind of likes, including the title."
The names and like some scenes that it likes out of the book. Like, that's about it.
Putting that into it, and that was like that was just kind of frustrating to watch because I'm like, this movie has some really good stuff in it, but I'm just like it's really underwhelming. Like all of the stuff with like Himmelstoss is not in it at all. That character's not even in it. The part where he goes on leave and he goes home is not in it at all.
Any part, like the training's all cut out. Yeah, it's all gone.
Super condensed, and it also like the book and the two movie adaptations. They cover the beginning of the war and they go to the end. This starts like right towards the end, it seems, and they brought it right up to the end. But that was one thing that I liked a lot about the the two movies actually, and that they even touch on it in the book, is that like the progression of stuff, and how eventually how weapons are progressing and the war is progressing, and in the movies they start out with the pickle haba helmet, and then eventually they have the M16 Stahl helmet and stuff like that. What are you laughing at, Nate?
No. I was looking at a meme on Facebook. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you were laughing at my pronunciation.
I'm 100% paying attention to you. There's no.
Okay, no, I thought you were laughing at my pronunciation.
No.
No. That's the Idaho accent.
Yeah.
Pickle haba. Yeah.
Right.
But so that stuff was just absent from it, and all of this, I kind of like. I had a sense that maybe that was going to happen. That they kind of took the epic scale away from it. When I was looking at trailers and seeing screenshots and stuff like that, I just saw, I only saw the M16, helmet and stuff like that. And I was thinking, oh, is this like the last chapter of the book that they adapted into a movie? But kind of, yeah, but it's still like, it's all of the key things that are memorable from the book, just condensed. If I didn't know anything about the source material, I would probably like it a lot more. But I thought there were some really well done things in it. Yes, the cinematography does look really good. I'm really glad it was in German. The other two films aren't in German.
That is one thing I wanted to say is like I very much love it when we have the language of origin in a film. And I will always watch it with subtitles. I'll never have Netflix gave me English or British English.
Never dubbed.
And I was like, fuck no. Just give me German.
We'll get into it, but there was something else wrong with the Netflix subtitles, which I wouldn't have noticed had I not listened to your episode on Mosul. I was like, oh my god, it happened again.
We'll get to that.
We'll get into that. Yeah,
we'll get into that for sure, 100%. Because
and then something that I was just really, I don't know, not confused with was that they, instead of adapting more stuff from the book, they added in stuff, which is all of the armistice stuff and trying to end the war and all that. That feels way more like Paths of Glory, and that's not from the book or any of the other movies at all. And it was just kind of confusing why they put that in there. That whole part with where they're trying to end the war and the general, being like, well, we're going to have this final victory, even though, the war is ending and stuff like that. It's not from anything from All Quiet on the Western Front. So that was very confusing to me. So who, Mr. B?
Yeah. You said a lot what I was going to say, which is good, but it's it was honestly what I expected, because nobody gives a shit to get the first
shit. Sorry.
Excuse me, penis.
Sorry. Sorry.
Someone's multitasking.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's all right. Someone's multitasking, yeah. That's rich. But like no, it's just, there are a lot of things that, we'll get into. I just can't wait to get into like technical shit and like like you said, bouncing back and forth between the armistice and the quote unquote story. And it's like, the only missing piece is I had not watched the 1930 version until yesterday. I've read the book, I've seen the 79 version, and now I've seen everything that encompasses this. And there are some discrepancies, to say the least. And it's going to be fun to compare them. But that's why I asked Nate, like, would you show it to your friends if you don't know you don't have any context in the background? And he's like, yes. And I would honestly say the same thing if I had zero context. I'd be like, oh, it's World War I. Nobody ever does a film about World War I. Well,
no, not anymore.
It could have been done. It could have been a hell of a lot better, in my opinion. And again, like you said, and Nate, I think, it was Nate kind of alluded to it. Like, if you're going to put the title, All Quiet on the Western Front, very well-known novel, very good novel. I love it. It's one of my favorites. If you're going to put that on this fucking work that you're doing, on this piece of work that you're doing, try to fucking not make it something else and then have 2 or 3 pieces of content that are relevant to the actual novel and just call it that. Like, because here's the thing is, like, the first 2 films, 1930 and 1979, say what you want about them, we'll get into that later. They actually followed the fucking novel. Okay. They had details in there at the time they should have been in there. They followed them from 1914, which it should have fucking started, but it started in 17. They followed it through and they did the best they could in both films. And it actually followed the story a hell of a lot better than this thing. It's like, again, what you said is putting a couple elements of the fucking novel in there and then a ton of just weird, like, random shit and showing German soldiers in the First World War does not constitute fucking titling that after the fucking one of the best novels ever written about war, in my opinion. So that's my opening statement.
So yeah, basically, I can sum it up really easily too. It's trying to be too many things at once. It doesn't know what it wants to be, and if they call it by any other name, it would be like, or even inspired by, it would be a lot better than calling it something it's not. And it was really disappointing. It could be cool, great adaptation of an anti-war film, and yeah, they have good anti-war tropes and whatever, but like, it's not All Quiet on the Western Front. It's not
Right.
the whole war. It's not his experience. It's a different movie under the same name. And it's fine if it's named something else, but it's kind of bullshit to call it.
Feels like a marketing gimmick.
Yeah, it just feels like all these modern tropes put on things.
It's very disingenuous to call it that.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's beautiful. It's shot amazingly. Cinematography's good. The uniforms are cool. You know, I totally could tell these blanks from the first second I saw it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was going to bring.
The guy was holding the rifle and just like
the first scene.
I'm like,
the first
oh,
scene
come
is
on.
CG smoke, and he's not even. I don't even think he's firing a blank.
Dude,
Yeah.
we'll get into the tech shit. Like, that's gonna take a
Yeah,
while.
no, that's
but
gonna
yeah.
take a while. That's why I want to
But,
go
like,
into the next subject I'm going to bring up in a
The little
second.
comparisons.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like, it's on its own. If I forget the title, okay, it's a World War movie. It's interesting, you know, but it's got some stupid tropes like the general trying to win the war and shit. Like, fucking, these guys are mutineering. Like, you know, fucking.
Today is
like,
it's the 3rd on recording. It is the start of the Kiel Mutiny in Germany. This was the beginning of the end for the German Empire. So the German Revolution had already begun.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah,
fucking,
that's why they needed the armistice as quick as they can. Germany was like in revolution.
Yeah,
Like,
they
the whole
do mention that,
whole
though,
navy
in it.
had mutinied.
They do mention the army will be killed by all the political factions on their way home because they'll starve to death and stuff. So they did mention a little bit of the turmoil, but not enough. But just long story short, it's trying to do way too much for under a famous name, and it's stupid. Make a movie about the armistice. That would be interesting. I'd love that.
Yes.
That'd be really cool. Like, the guy was wearing a corduroy uniform. I'm like, that's cool as fuck.
That's really
Like,
cool. It's
know,
also very accurate.
I thought that was neat.
Yep.
Like that. I think that would be awesome.
That stuff
Like,
on
hey,
its
you know,
own is good, yes, but
yeah,
it doesn't.
So
it feels so disconnected from the rest of the thing. Yeah.
It's like Joe X Noel came out a few years ago. It's an okay film. It's about, you know, the Christmas
Joe
trees
X.
and stuff, and it's awesome. It's so great to see, you know, fucking that event in its own film. But I don't want to see that like jammed into like Verdun or something. Like, oh my god, fucking,
yeah,
make it its own thing.
absolutely.
Yeah. Too much shit going on.
It's 2 movies crammed into one.
It's like 3 movies
with a book title slapped on it. Yeah,
not even like so.
And I like
well.
it, and I did like it. Yeah, like
but like, you know, it's sad.
So Nathaniel, what are your statements that you want to say after Brian, and then we'll dive into this.
So I guess the question is that because I didn't do any research on any of the other movies, any of the book.
Good.
What's in this movie that's not in the rest?
All the general
armistice stuff, yeah.
All the armistice stuff.
All the armistice.
Yeah, we'll explain it, and you'll actually
1914.
You will have your answer by the end of that. It's a good question, and we're gonna address all of that shit.
The book is entirely a foot soldier's journey. It's not has nothing to do with like the.
That's why there's no let up from Paul's story of just death and war and awfulness. Like, and this movie, you take a break and you get that contrast, but it's not what this is supposed to be, like that's its own separate
Yeah,
thing.
that's
It's
where I felt like it was the weakest, was when it would
Yeah.
take that break, it would take its foot off the accelerator. I mean,
yeah,
in
it-
terms of
it's
the general scenes, and just to clarify what I liked, I did not like the general scenes of them doing the whole thing. I like the concept. If you're going to kill him, do it that way, where it's the general being a pompous prick and not letting, like, going all the
And
way up to the hilt
that
of
was
that.
not in the book. We'll
I
just put it that
figured
way.
that, yeah.
That was not in the book.
I like that part. What I want to clarify is I do not think all the general scenes and the character of a general with the dog and the dinners and the whole, like,
Yep.
oh, is your father a saddle maker? Who the fuck? I don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah.
all that
It's
no,
really obvious.
that's
yeah.
that's all like just, bullshit filler, and I knew that, and I felt like it was those scenes. Anything that wasn't Paul wasn't very strong.
Well, it wasn't just Paul too. It was like you mentioned, Kat, which we're gonna get into.
Yeah,
They actually, so for you to like say that they had a good relationship, very good observation, and they portrayed it well.
Mhm.
So that's good, because
Okay.
in the book they did, and so
Okay.
we'll get into that. So, where do you guys want to start? Do you want to go like? Do you want to kind of like follow the novel through?
yeah,
Right.
the novel is fantastic.
I mean, Brian, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, not everybody's going to know the film too, or we could just talk about.
No, but like we can just say the differences, because like for the first part of the novel, like the big chunk of it, they don't show it in this particular rendition of it, so we can just kind of gloss over and just summarize what happened, and then bam, we're not there. But we can summarize the parts that they tried to show in this rendition, but it doesn't work.
I'll say it again, that really disappointing that the Himmelstoss character is
Yeah,
not in this.
Himmelstoss, yeah, because that was a
Yeah.
very important one, because it
Mhm.
symbolizes a lot of shit, and yeah, it's insane. So
He's
what do you guys
not
want to
even
do?
in it at all.
Yeah, I don't know how much you want to talk about the original in case you're going to do another one on it, but
Well, right, but like how
it's-
much? Well, we could do it with every fucking rendition. We could do it with 1930 or the 1979. Like it doesn't matter. But like, how do you guys want to fuck this pig?
Ooh, so many options.
So I don't like how it starts in 1917 and it rushes. There's a huge jump into November 1918.
Right,
It's like the last year. It's literally just to get that
right.
tension of, is he going to survive the war, and is he? Oh, it's the last attack, and it's this futile attack in the last 15 minutes, which didn't happen. Like that they're gonna, or is he gonna live? And I don't like that. Like I say, the epicness is kind of brought out of it, like of going from, I think, 1914 enlists, 1915 it's like his first battle, so then it goes all the way to the end. Like, oh, he almost makes it to the end in the original, the 30s version end of the book. And he gets just randomly sticks his head up above the parapet one day and gets shot by a sniper reaching for a butterfly, which I don't think is in the book, if I remember.
No,
I think he
it
just
doesn't.
dies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't even say
that's
how
something
he
from
dies.
the original.
Yeah, it
the
says
30s version.
he fell on whatever,
Right.
blah,
It
blah,
doesn't
blah.
matter how
Yeah,
it, how
and
it
it's
happened.
like, all the German reports that day said was
It implies it was soon near the armistice, but it doesn't ever say what day.
yeah.
It's
All
like
it says was
close.
the German reports that day said all quiet on the Western Front. That
Yes.
was all they reported after like his epic story and all the hardships he went through. All his death is just all quiet on the Western Front, and then that's how pitiful and useless
Right.
it was.
But for
and
this
that is-
movie, they wanted to have a huge epic battle at the end.
Yeah,
you know.
the futility. Like we almost made it, and it's like I think I talked to Brian before. I was like, it had these Hollywood-esque moments where they couldn't resist. They could have just had
very.
that where he just dies as a sniper randomly on just a dull day where nothing happened, nothing of merit happened, his death barely be recorded. But now he's the last German soldier killed. Like, you just couldn't help yourself, could you? Like, you had to get in an epic fist fight and get try to get drowned in the mud, and like, you just couldn't help it, huh? Like,
Yeah.
How casual were the Frenchmen too? Like the war's over, and like, oh, here's Germans walking around with guns. Like, you're the victors.
yeah,
Like,
like, get
fucking
the fuck out of
steal
here.
that guy's watch.
Like,
Fucking hit him in the head.
These
Like,
guys just attacked you.
Not a lot
There was respect, like, you know,
there's
come
not
on.
a lot of friendship going on.
Oh, it's easy to look back and be like, oh, the war's over, 1101. Like,
Yeah,
what the fuck? No.
You know what I mean?
That was
To
annoying.
be fair, like most of those guys have been like, we've been fighting here for fucking
Yeah, if everyone was
True,
months,
but not
years,
just
tired,
like
but
wandering like zombies. Like, hey, it's Hans. You know, like
You know,
just a little
there
bit
might have been
more
some
animal.
good
violence, but
fight
like,
there, chap. Like,
yeah, good fight, yeah. But no, I think it was just more of like they were trying to portray like what happened, you know, maybe several hours after the armistice was declared.
yeah, like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
they're
for
kind
sure.
of display like
But-
nobody's really their enemy. They're just
And
your enemy.
nobody
because you said
won.
You had to be. Yeah,
And
nobody,
nobody
won.
won.
Like it's just like
Yeah.
I guess we'll walk away.
Because
Like,
those guys in the front, they don't see the French winning the fucking war. The Germans don't see us losing. They're just like, fucking, we're just here. Okay, it's over. We're not shooting each other anymore. Okay, our orders. We're not going to get shot or court-martialed or put up in a firing squad if we say no. I'm not going to kill this guy. Okay, it starts to sink in. Maybe that's what they were trying to portray, but like, who knows how it actually was? Because again, none of us were there, and most of those guys that were there aren't going to write fucking memoirs or history books about it. They're going to be like, hey, I survived it. I went home and I went back to my turnip farm and this and that. Like,
which is a great part in the original, the 1930s, where Paul goes back to the classroom, and Nathan, you won't know what to talk about, and the teacher's like, well, tell him how good it is to fight for your country. And he goes, well, sometimes we kill and die in the trenches. We try not to be killed, and sometimes we are. Like, that's it. I'm like, oh,
and he also gets pissed off at him kind of because he goes,
yeah, he's like,
you don't know because you've never been there. You've never been there. Like, what the fuck are you talking? That's another part.
I'm not gonna tell these kids that.
The whole thing with like,
remember he gets all the rations too because they're like, it's pretty bad. You want to have enough food? And he's like, what do you mean? There's nothing at home.
Yeah,
right. There's nothing.
Like,
it's
just his father's like, well, you just got to keep going. See, look, the armchair generals. We're talking more about the 30s version because this is entirely better. Like, look how much. Look, you're almost there. You just got to keep pushing. It's like that, like horror of like nobody fucking gets it.
Nobody gets it. It's just.
By taking away that home front scenes and the Himmelstrasse character and adding in the General Armistice stuff, that's gone from the movie. Like that contrast gets taken away, and that I think is the more important contrast to make. Yeah,
it does take a lot away. It takes a lot away because Himmelstrasse is a guy that trains them, and they're like, oh god, that's their first introduction in the German military, right? Oh, he's such a tough guy. The guy's a postal carrier. In the original film, it shows that. It doesn't show it in the 79 one, but it does say it in the book. He was a postal carrier, right? And then in this one, it's like there's no mention of him. It's just they brush through the basic training part of it, which is a really crucial part of how they all got to know each other really well. They were friends before, they were colleagues, they were in the same class and all that shit. But they really bonded over the hatred of Himmelstrasse. And then they just took that away in this film. And it's like, fuck it. Even the 79 version, which is horseshit, they still had him. And he was said as a very short, fucking loud, angry man. And they got it in both versions of the film. They got it both right. Except this one because he wasn't there.
Yeah. In the original, just to burn it up again, I love how he dies in the original, like, because I just watched it last night because I love him. Like he's this big gun-ho military guy, and how does he die? He doesn't get in some big fist fight with some French and dies honorably. He just falls and dies. You never see him again. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, he's gone. Like,
yeah, and it's all
like
that shit.
He hides the shell and pisses himself, and then he just dies.
But there's just no, like, so in this version, like, it's mainly like a fucking, we want to show World War I how the battles were and how fucked up they were and how gruesome they were and whatever. It's like, okay, you couldn't follow the story a little bit better. You can still do that with follow the story. Yeah.
It's
go ahead, Sean.
It's great. They did a great job of that. And like the armistice scenes, like I don't hate them. Like I like them. I love that story. I think it's a story that a movie needs to be told about.
Right, but it's a different fucking movie.
It's a different movie crammed into it. Like it's a whole other story that you're tacking on. Like,
yep, exactly.
I think they still could have done some stuff that's in the book when it comes to the battle stuff that to show how fucked up the war is. Like, I mean, in the book he talks about like seeing a guy, with his feet blown off walking on his stumps and things like that. It never got to that territory in this version of the movie. We see him hitting someone with the spade, which is
that was actually the best portrayal in this version of the film That was.
Oh yeah, no,
we'll
I
get
agree.
into that. We'll get into that. Yeah.
I agree, but like some of those more like there's some stuff in the book when I was listening to the audio, I was like,
Yeah.
God damn,
Yeah, there's the one where the guy gets blown by the mine, the big caliber shell into the tree, like stripped
Into the
out his
tree,
uniform. I know
yeah.
that's in the book, yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's it.
Yeah.
I did
I'm-
think that was very cool. At least to
Yeah,
showcase that in
that's-
the
That's
film,
from the
yeah.
book.
Yeah,
Reminded me of the guy at
that's
Belts
right out of the
himself.
book. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no
Another one that he talks about in the book is that he sees a French guy get his head something goes like a piece of fragment or shrapnel or whatever goes through his neck and his head is hanging off his body, but he like walks for like a couple of feet and then hits the ground. That's not in this movie. So there was some stuff like that. And in both films, they talk about the hand clasping the wire that's been blown off, and that's in the 1930s one.
Yep.
It's not in this one. It's also in the 79 one, but it's not in this one. So it's just interesting.
There's the Saint-Chamond tanks running people over, which is very well done. But
I liked that. Yeah,
but those parts in the book are missing. So it's like, oh,
were the tanks in the books and the other
Nope.
movies? And
Nope.
Is that-
they
is
talk
that-
about
yeah,
tanks
I
in
don't
the
think
book.
they.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
very
think they
vague. There's
are,
a lot
though.
of vague shit. There's a lot of vague platitudes in the book.
Yeah,
that-
it's mostly just describing things.
Yeah, it's
that
describing
happen.
like his
Right,
experience
yeah.
from his point of view.
And obviously, like
Yeah,
there's-
technologically, in the 1930s probably couldn't do tanks easily. So, like, I don't expect that in there.
They
But
had 'em.
Well,
Yeah, they had
yeah,
them,
but
yeah.
like
Same tanks.
Yeah.
to get him correct,
Like
like
T-17 show up a lot.
well, no, the Saint-Chamond tanks, which would be accurate for 1917.
Amazing.
They showed up in April of 17, and they were used.
were they
throughout
were
the
they
end.
accurate CG tanks? Were they actually?
Yeah,
They look
Yep.
really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
they
don't
looked
know.
really good. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
they
they
were
look very
CG,
good.
but like, yeah. So you've got on a Saint-Chamond, you've got 175
I love
millimeter.
the panic they had too.
You got 175 millimeter howitzer in the front, right, which you saw, and you got 4 Hotchkiss 8 millimeter Lebel machine guns going forward. On a
That was
sponson.
really cool to see that they did tackle the concept of that. Once the tank was in the trench, they fucking just annihilated them on the sides. Like that
Yeah,
was
because
like
you
I knew
had-
that was a thing, but you don't see that ever used in movies, and that was really
Well,
cool.
they had 4, 2 on each side,
Well,
and they would have one
cool
going.
to the extent of
this-
actually being shown, not cool to the guy.
They had like it was like 100 and something degrees for the front ones, and then the back ones. Yeah, if you're in the back of that tank, you're still fucked.
yeah,
Because it's like they're gonna hit you, but also knocking them out was very accurate. You take out the tracks, they can't move.
And then you're in no man's land, surrounded by.
Yeah, and you're stuck there. They're gonna throw
fucked.
grenades.
Usually,
in
the
there.
infantry, if they got through the wire after you, great. But normally, you were done. You were toast.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the Saint-Chamonds, they were very, very, very slow, and they were not actually considered a tank. They were considered a very heavily armored vehicle. That's the way
very
they
much.
viewed them, and the way they use them in the film, I'm not exactly sure if that was accurate. Like if they'd actually like gone over the trench, the parapet, and everything. But it is what it is. Like they looked good. So yeah, to answer your question, as far as the CG, because you could tell it's CG, but it was done very well. And the reaction, like Sean was saying, is like, yeah, they're fucking terrified. I would be too. Like it's like the ground shaking thing that was for cinematic effect because the ground's not
Yeah,
going to shake.
that's
that
a little.
far
That's a
away.
little much for
Right.
That's
enough
not
to
too big
make
of a tank.
enough to make rats run away. Like that's earthquake proportions of rattle.
the rats running away, no, but
Yeah,
the
no.
ground slice shaking like that. That's the kind of concept you get with and I'm gonna say it wrong because Mike B always says I say it wrong. Cavalry charges, so
Cavalry.
cavalry.
Calvary was the hill that Jesus was crucified on.
However
You
you
say it
want to,
wrong.
however you want to fucking say it. Just say it. Speak
Here
your
in
mind.
Maryland.
I
Cavalry.
I was really waiting for it in this
Cavalry.
movie, but there's no gas attack. I haven't seen the 79 version, but in none of the films,
Right.
there's not gas, and that's a big part in the book. From what I remember, he's trying to like struggle to keep some recruit's mask on because he wants to take it off in a panic, but they're in the bottom of
And
a
he
shell hole.
puts his arms
with the
behind his
gas
back. Yeah.
Yeah, the gas is like congealing. He literally pins this recruit to the ground as the gas flows around them, and there wasn't any of that. And I was like, "This is it! Like it's 2022. We
Yep.
have the technology to do it," and they didn't do it.
But
Like,
they also just
Okay.
alluded to it right away where they were like, when they were going up to the front initially, they were like,
that's why
gas.
I was excited.
And I wasn't excited because gas wasn't used as much as people think. And you can debate me on that all you want, but like
They kind of touch on that with that company they're trying to find.
Yeah,
they
the
find
company
the
they
dead
look for,
bodies,
but
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
so it
it's-
was like it was used, but like they were just doing a drill then, and I was like, okay, so this is all gonna be about gas and everything, even though it accounted for less than 1% of all casualties in the First World War, which is interesting. But like, I was like, okay, this is all gonna be about gas, and then there was nothing, and I'm like, there'd probably be at least one.
Yeah, like if you really want to make this movie about like the horrors of the actual front,
Right.
contrasted with like the general loftiness, like I think as much as it wasn't used as much as people think, as you said, like, but that's still something you could have put in if you're already
Yes.
veering off the book. You have that in the book to go off of. So
Right.
why wasn't that in here?
Right. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, they used a shitload of other cliches, but they didn't use that one, and I'm like, interesting.
Well, it's very funny because I mean, like, tell me if I'm wrong, but most World War One movies, no one really touches on gas. They'll mention gas, but they'll never ever want to show the effects of gas.
Usually they do. They usually show most World War movies I've seen. They'll at least show one or two at least gas attacks, and they'll show the effects.
I think the 79 version has a gas scene in it.
Yeah, a couple of them. Yeah, because
Ooh.
they're sitting there in the holes and blah blah. Yeah, but like
maybe it's because maybe it's because I haven't watched as many.
yeah, and it's
War One movies.
it's all right because like it was used. Like I'm not saying it wasn't used at all, but like the efficacy of a gas attack was
It's not like every single attack that ever happened had a gas barrage. Yeah,
well, and if they did even, it was like the efficacy was not that high. Like the wind had to be going just right. They had to be moving at the exact spot. Like a lot of the gas attacks, like the wind just blew it away and it disintegrated. It was like done. And but here's the thing is like when it did take effect, it's a fucking psychological terror. That's all that matters. And that's why we still carry gas masks to this day. Is because of the psychological terror of the gas attacks in the First World War. But yeah, it's interesting how, like, yeah, you bring that up. It wasn't used. It was used as like a kind of thing, like a training tool at the beginning, but there was no gas. And then they go into that that depot, that train depot, and there's empty gas canisters, and they're like, oh shit. And then they see all these guys that were there, and they're like, oh, they put on their masks too late, whatever. And that's interesting, but it's like if you're gonna show gas, like show it how it
show it. Yeah,
yeah. And there's literally no World War I film that I've ever seen or heard of that actually shows it accurately because yeah. Anyway, I won't get into the nerdery of that. So, but anyway, yeah. So, yeah, that's interesting.
A missed opportunity.
That's how I described it after I watched it. It's like, well,
all around.
It's very underwhelming.
I guess if we were to dive into just to kind of slight things that I guess that stood out. I mean, number one, fucking music. Dear God.
Not good.
I didn't know how to feel about that.
I was conflicted as well. Yeah. It wasn't
Gallipoli
Gallipoli bad, but it was still like.
What is that? Like,
Yeah,
is that a
it's
sound
like
effect or is that
minimalist,
music?
like-
yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Well, like it
So-
was just like I guess it's trying to do. This is what I think it's trying to do. I think it's trying to mix a thing of tension mixed with uncertainty, mixed in with we gotta be hit for the kids and we gotta do Battlefield 1 in
Yep.
the game because that's what
Yes.
makes it succeed. So
It looks very much like Battlefield 1.
right. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, like
There you go.
if you think of it, but if you think of it like this, it's like okay, what's this like last 10 years of music choice? It's combining to generate like if you're going to do a historical thing, like people try to combine like the music of or the music taste of this generation because obviously that's what's going to sell or be interesting or new or ooh look what we did ooh like I was like it did its first blah. I thought my speakers were malfunctioning for half.
Yeah,
a
Right,
me
second.
I
too.
did too.
And then I was like, oh, it's the
Yep.
music.
It does take you
Okay.
by,
Yeah, all right,
does
fine.
take
Let's
you by
see how
unawares.
this music goes. And it just went blah and like weird editing cadence. So it wasn't even like normal
Okay.
cadence of music. So like it
So-
made me think they're just trying to be this art housey kind of thing. And I'll get I that kind of leads into my next thing is like I don't know what it was. The editing seemed like, normal pacing of editing. It's like, okay, cool. Good shots, good cinematography, good cadence, good everything. That looks cool. That looks neat. Oh, I like how they did that. and then blah, and then these clip cuts right before the farm kid kills
Of just
Cat.
random shit.
Of just random shit, almost like he's paranoid, like he
foxes.
and, like
Yeah, like what is that?
well,
Yeah,
no,
that
no,
was
no, no.
strange.
Actually, the foxes and stuff that didn't bother me. That was like that's kind of like you're setting the setting in the woods that it's something. Is that normal? Yeah.
Of peaceful existence.
I think
where-
that's what.
guess.
Yeah. Again.
Don't show the home front, but we got foxes.
Right. Yeah. I think again. I think it comes down to this art house kind of feeling where the editing kind of almost doesn't know what genre it wants to be put in, and that's only in certain parts of the film. It's weird.
No, I wanted to ask you about that because that's what you said in your initial statement about the editing, and I was like, I felt the same thing. There were a number of times to where they were lingering on just random shit, and it kind of felt almost like how The Revenant was directed.
I was gonna say like it felt very Revenant editing to me, but I don't mind that. I like The Revenant a lot. It's
I do too,
because it works with the.
But
Revenant.
it works
it's
with
not the Revenant is not a story about the trenches of World War One.
Right? Yeah. Like I do think the juxtaposition to those static shots don't take away from that. I think the ones that really were like out of nowhere was them using the same shots again for those very small little like mainly where I can remember it off the top of my head is where right before Cat's gonna get shot by the kid with the shotgun. That's where that really cropped up, and I was kind of like, "What the fuck? This is nowhere else in the film, so why the fuck is this editing style?" And then it doesn't do anything anywhere else. And it was the same static shots like over and over again. So I wonder if it's subliminal, if it's trying to paint a message, is it trying to be art housey? Like I just didn't care for it. That's what took me out of that moment, which is probably why I'm like, okay, cool. Fucking buzz cut kid with a fucking shotgun out of nowhere.
When they were running through that field, I was waiting for how Cat dies in the original.
Yeah, I was too. I was like, "Where's that shell coming from?"
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, the plane's gonna come down. Here it comes!" And I was like, "Oh, why is it snowing? How's the plane gonna fly?" And then like the key turns around, it's the kid. I'm like, "Hey,
yeah, that's not how he dies in any of the adaptations."
I was gonna ask because I was waiting for a sniper shot to ring out of him like in the middle of the field.
So spoiler, basically, Paul comes back from leave and meets up with Cat, who's looking for food. And a plane is like just randomly dropping bombs on them, and he gets hit in the shin. So Paul picks him up to carry him to the aid, and as he does, another bomb lands behind them, and it hits Cat in the back of the head and kills him. But Paul doesn't realize it, so he's carrying him to the aid station, talking to him, tell him about life, what they're gonna do back home, and he puts him down at the aid station. That's where the aid is like, "Oh, you could have saved yourself the trouble," and goes back to like playing cards, and it's like, "Oh, well, he's dead." And it's like, again, like this guy who's been through so much, we know him, like you love this character, he just died, and like nobody cares. Like, your deal is in the original, like I'll get his paybook.
But instead it's funny because in the book, that whole thing about them stealing the goose from the farmer is in there. But instead, they decided for this movie to bring it back to where the kid from that farm kills him.
Gets his revenge, and then gets promptly hunned by the military
for
police.
Mother Goose.
Here come the chain dogs.
Insert World of War alien siren sound, like if we're talking about deaths, not as bad as I'm gonna fuck up the name. Tajin.
Taijin, yeah.
I can't fucking pronounce it.
Tajin, the fuck,
who is the fucking man in the original, and this when he stabs himself with a fork in the neck. Like, that was the most egregious one.
What are we doing?
I can live with cats. Yeah. I'll live with it, but that no.
It's interesting.
Okay, so hold on. Before we get on that, is like, how does he die in the other ones?
He doesn't.
So in the book,
I forgot about the book. Yeah.
In the book, he talks about how if I lose my leg, like I want to die or something like that. Now there's a whole part of the book where Paul and a number of his comrades are in the hospital.
Yeah, they're looking at Kemrick though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not him. That's Kemrick, and Alfred is the guy who says, "I don't live as a cripple."
Right. Okay. Yeah. But in that
Tajin's an old hand that they meet.
Right. But in that moment, someone says that like someone tries to stab himself in the chest with a fork, but they're not successful.
Yeah, it was another guy. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's probably kind of where that comes from. But like, we want to have it be really gruesome and
forks
shit,
are really dangerous, as it turns out.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
that
I mean,
was-
I mean, when he said like, "Do you have cutlery?" I'm like, he's gonna fucking take out his neck. Like,
I did like how they turn around
Yeah.
and the guy's eating his soup. I liked that part. Like he couldn't give a fuck. He just used that opportunity that their friend died to steal his soup. Like, oh, I like
I
that.
forget.
Don't like the
I
other
swear
part.
to God, there's a film. I don't know what came out, but of these two guys. Oh, is it The Young Lions? Where the guy slips in the bayonet. He's all.
oh,
wounded in the
that's that
hospital.
movie. That's that movie that
Michael, you've seen that, right? That's the one that.
That's
What's it called from your test. The Young Lions with Marlon
that was
Brando.
the movie.
Oh,
that
that
was the
one.
movie that you did.
Oh yeah, where
you
he's
did on your
the
list.
blonde German.
slips in-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I
it-
laughed at because I didn't
Yeah,
think it was
but
real.
yes.
in that movie, he has a wounded comrade. They're in North Africa. And
Yep.
they're strafed on a motorcycle,
Mhm.
and he slips him a bayonet
Yep.
because in the hospital, and he's like, "I can't. I'm gonna kill myself." you
Yeah.
know, and it's so that was interesting.
I forgot all about that.
They should have just gave him
Yeah,
a
well, I was
fork.
trying. I was like, "Fuck, what film was it? It's famous, you know." It's
Yeah.
motorcycle. Yeah, but it was the Young Lions. So interesting thing, but yeah, it's like they went so far from the original narrative. You know, it's like just name it. You know,
Yeah.
really loud in the West.
Him,
Like, you
yeah,
know.
like Alfred freaking out that he doesn't want to live as a cripple, and him realizing his life is going to be like that, like a bit more poignant than man stabs himself in the neck with a fork.
Yeah. The fact that he would survive is more powerful than
Yeah.
this. You know.
It's much, it hits you
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Now at the end of the of everything of the other sources, does Paul live at the end?
No.
No.
Okay.
God no.
How does he die
died-
in the
he-
other ones?
It just says he fell on this day and blah 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 in the book. And in the prior two films, that's how he dies.
Well,
It's-
and so
Sorry, Mike, if you want.
so in the 1931, he has this whole thing to where he talks about he liked to catch butterflies. And at the end of the 30s one, there's a butterfly at the edge of the trench, and he's like trying to reach it to grab it, and you see like a French sniper like sneaking up, and it's just a shot of his arm, and you hear a shot ring out, and his hand like clenches, and then it goes limp.
Yep, and then
And-
so in the 79 one, he's drawing a bird.
He's
and then
drawing a
he
bird.
kind of like is trying to get closer and like kind of gets his head up where it shouldn't be, and then a French sniper fucking nails him. So
and he falls down.
and this is also within it doesn't ever say what day it was exactly that he died.
It's sometime
It's just
in like
very close to the end.
mid
It's like
1918. Yeah,
it's like within like a week to the end is what
Yeah.
you
So
get.
so that whole push.
wasn't 11.
Yeah. See, and that's where I think I don't like that, and that's where I think that's like.
Yeah.
It's like a superhero World War One movie.
There weren't a lot of assaults on November 11th in 1918. There really weren't. Like the guys, they were done and they had heard the talks of an armistice, blah blah blah. So they didn't want to do anything. There were attacks in certain
Weren't
sectors.
there more American
Yeah,
attacks
yeah,
than
but
anything?
yeah, I was gonna
Yes,
say by
yes.
Americans.
So
not-
that's
Yeah,
that's
the
the
Americans
thing.
are like, "Come on, boys, the war's almost
We
over."
got
because
more
we haven't
medals
been
to
in it
win,
so
yeah.
long.
Right, but it
Well,
was like
yeah.
the Germans and the French and the British, like they mainly were like, let's just ride this out. But there still were attacks, so that's
So-
not. Yeah,
That's one thing that I actually found really interesting when hearing the book is that because in all of the movie adaptations it's just the French. However, in the book they talk about the British, the French, the Russians, and the Americans.
Yeah, he's all over.
Yeah,
all over the place in the
and
book.
so it's never just like all the movie adaptations. It's just the French, but in the book it's like everybody.
I think less clothes for the extras you have to buy if you just keep it one army.
The part in the book with the Russian prisoners is really interesting, though.
Yeah, he's at the POW, the
Mhm.
POW camp. Forgot about that part.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's good. If you could take anything away from this podcast, it's read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's a quick read, and you will
Invest
love it.
in the book instead of Netflix.
Yeah.
So if you guys wouldn't mind, Sean, I've heard that you're a bit of a connoisseur of World War One history and kind of details. I've got so most of my notes came from the first half hour of this film, and when I write notes, everybody knows what that means.
Mhm.
It's great.
Ron.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of them. So these are all the technical and kind of historically questionable things.
Can I ask you experts a question? So the one, because technically wise, like I'm not into the World War One stuff, but I could have sworn in this movie some of the German extras were wearing M35 helmets.
Nope, they were not.
They weren't? Okay, I
Nope.
could have sworn they
Nope.
were.
So
Alright.
why? No, I didn't see any M35 helmets, but I saw weird fucking like maybe it's just the guy's head, but some helmets look different than others.
Let's just get
They
into
had-
this. Let's just
They
get
had
into this.
Michael
Yeah.
could probably tell you, but they had a couple of different variants of the what you think is the Stahlhelm.
Okay.
A couple of different ones.
Yeah.
That could have been what you saw.
Yeah.
Well,
They're not super common, but they did
But-
exist.
but they weren't in this film. So just so
Yes.
you know. But like so my notes are as follows. The first thing I typed was Jesus Christ. This is about a minute into the
Just
film,
Jesus Christ.
right? They had a massive amount of reproduction helmets, which okay, I get it, but Nate, did you end up finding the production value? Like what this
no,
thing cost?
Netflix is keeping that under wraps. Let me see if I can find out.
Yeah, just something because
This is too close to the release date of this.
yeah, but like usually they
Yeah,
whatever. But
they
anyway,
got to declare that it made the most money ever. but
so
never
what was
released the
and we'll get
statistics.
into the repro helmets thing is going to be a recurring kind of thing I'm going to talk about because it changes throughout the film. So in the first scene, like where the whatever missing gear, a lot of missing gear, like good pieces of gear, whatever. And I was like, what was he shooting? Oh, I missed that. Blanks. And then drops rifle and charges with the spade. Not gonna fucking happen, dude.
That's what I mean by
Just put your rifle
by
down.
sacrificing cinematography for realism.
for accuracy.
Yeah,
Right. And it's like-
and he wasn't even. I mean, look, I won't get on shooting real blanks or not real blanks, but if you're gonna have him fire a gun, at least show like a little bit more impact,
A little bit
than just,
recoil
like-
and like because I didn't
Yeah.
like you guys said, I didn't know he was shooting at first, and I'm like, oh, I saw the striker go forward in the bolt, and I'm like, oh, he's firing. Man, that's the weakest fucking blank I've ever seen.
yeah.
He's just probably
It's
dry
he,
firing.
it's 'cause he
Yeah,
wasn't
even if they were
firing. He
there,
wasn't
like,
firing
yeah.
at all. He was just firing probably normal stuff. But,
Right,
like,
and that was okay.
yeah.
So that was the whatever.
I noticed stuff like that, and my mind just goes, "Well, it's a blank, whatever." Like, I
Yeah,
just,
same, yeah.
Yeah,
I
but that was
blot it out.
pretty egregious. That was like
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
like
it
just-
was bad. Like, if I notice it, my girlfriend notices it. It's not good.
dry firing this bitch. It's like okay, and then charging with a spade, and then it's like no, that's your spade is a last resort, and the Germans fucking knew that even in 1914. They knew that because once they started doing that, they're like, yeah, it's a last resort weapon because you can't use your bayonet because it's on your rifle. Anyway, so when they get to their they're signing up, for the fatherland. Uniform issue did not happen right after they got medically cleared. It was like you get medically cleared, then you go to the fucking issue place. Because guess what? Magically, they don't have a fucking crystal ball that knows all these guys' sizes.
Good to go.
Yep.
I liked what they were going for, of like the reissue uniforms of all the dead guys.
They didn't do that shit.
Yeah, it's because I don't know if the Germans did that, but that seems like a lot of fucking work. Like I hadn't heard of that before. So
Right. What would happen is once you got to the front or like you were like out there, yeah, you had to tailor up and patch up your own fucking uniforms because you weren't going to get reissued. Now, the new recruits, yeah, you get fresh uniforms because they were very like they weren't short on wool, they were short on leather. Okay, a lot. So you would get a new uniform and it'd be new. It would not be a new model per se. They issued the 1910 14s, the 1910 15s that are basically the whatever, like the cuffs that you see a lot in this film. Just the Brandenburg cuffs without the buttons and shit on the cuffs, with the buttons still the exposed buttons, and then the 1915 Feldbluse, right? So it was like what model you get is irrelevant, but you would get something that was relatively your size when you went to the issuing facility, right? So it's like they're not just going to be like, oh, you're cleared. Here's the stamp medically. You're good to go. Here's your uniform set. It's like that's not going to fucking happen. And then with that, the kid that puts on the gas mask, Willa, right? The glasses with the strap on them. That's something you don't get until you're actually at the front, because those are special made. That was a specially made piece of equipment that was made for guys at the front that had glasses. They would get you prescription too, by the way, and they would go, all right, at the front, you're going to be wearing these because you can put your gas mask on over it. It won't interrupt. The frames won't interrupt it, whatever, all that shit. So that's bullshit, but they showed it, so it's like, okay.
a cool touch.
It's a cool touch. It's just inaccurately shown. At the front, yes, absolutely. He would have that on, absolutely. But like right after you get your fucking uniform and you throw them on, okay, and whatever. So also, you don't get your regimental shoulder boards until you're assigned to the regiment, which means you graduated your basic training kind of thing. Usually, and this regiment, I found problems with that because the 78th Regiment, which is what's going to be on your shoulder boards, right, was from Saxony, right? And these guys say they're in northern Germany. And what they said later on in the film was the 78th Reserve Division. And it's like, okay, well, the 70th Reserve Division had fucking four infantry regiments. And that's the number that would be on your shoulder boards, right? The red numbers on your shoulder boards. And so 78 was like, it's like somebody didn't do their research. They just wanted to look cool. And they're like, I mean, the boards themselves looked good. The script was correct, or as close as correct as you can get, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, just, again, another fucking 10 seconds of research. You can figure out that was whatever. That. I'm going to blow through these notes, Brian, I know. But like, we're almost there. So they get to the front and they're in their trucks, right? A medical doctor is directing traffic for incoming troops. Fuck no.
Fuck no. Doctor doesn't leave the operator room.
Directing, he was just trying to.
Oh no, he's directing.
He doesn't leave the fucking operator room.
No, I would.
That's a desperate move. I mean, I can see that.
I get it, but literally any other asshole, like you could have had somebody, just some asshole directing traffic, and then they pull up and they realize what it is. Like.
So Nate, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say the guy covered in blood, waving you down. I mean, I think I'm gonna do what he tells me to do. He might be a serial killer.
That could be a crazy man.
Yeah, I just like say he might be a serial killer. I'm not gonna like.
Like Sean said, that guy is not leaving the fucking operating table, right? They're gonna get some other schmuck. Brian, you're rubbing off on me. They're gonna get some other like fucking private or whatever to go. Hey, we got reinforcements, and the sergeant or whatever is gonna be like, yeah. Get these trucks this way and this. We need those trucks. So like whatever. It's not going to be a fucking doctor. That part, it was another little detail. It's like, okay, fucking Christ. And then I said, repo helmets again. Yeah, the skirt is way too long. And this is when they're marching up to the front. And it's that shitty like Indian/Chinese made repros. It's like this blue-gray paint that's like matte colored. I know because I've owned a couple of them when I first started out, and it's not shiny. The original German paint job was like a green. I have an original like mint condition, and it was also shiny because they put boiled linseed oil in there so it wouldn't scratch as much. It also had the effect of being very shiny. And so also just the shapes, whatever, you can tell that they're not real. But that does change. So, and again, they get to the front line, they get to the trench. Helmets off in a frontline trench while apparently there's shit popping off because the machine guns are shooting.
Yeah,
I wrote, what the actual fuck? I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, if you got to bail out the fucking trench, you're going to figure out any other way, means buckets, something.
The original, the 30s one, at the very end, like right before Paul dies, they're bailing out Trent, so they have like some sort of cup attached to a stick.
Right,
that's what they're doing. Right. It's like literally anything but your helmet. Like I get the point. Is like fuck you. You thought you had a dry head at least. Like no, take your helmet off and bail out the water. But yeah, not something you would do. You would not take your fucking helmet off.
Yeah, no. When you're on the front line, and this is gonna come up again, but like when you're on the front line, if you're not in a fucking dugout, your fucking helmet is on. I don't care what side you're on. I don't care if you're French, British, American, fucking German, Austro-Hungarian. Your helmet is on when you're outside because there's a constant danger of artillery, which it shows in this fucking scene. Anyway, so this is a very tiny thing. I'll just brush over this really quick. When he drops his tornister, his pack, right? In marching order, in proper marching order, if they would have been going up here, the tornister straps would have been underneath his shoulder boards. Because there's a reason for that. It's so when you're marching, the fucking straps from your pack don't go down on your shoulder. It's a functional thing as well as a decorative thing, but that's a tiny thing. Whatever, they might not have known that. I'll just give them that. And then I just wrote bailing out a trench with protective headgear. Jesus Christ! And so don't go back on that. And then so again, here's another one. Cat himself and a couple other ones has a camouflage painted helmet in 1917.
Yeah,
And I just wrote, go fuck yourself. No.
Okay, so why
Did
is
not
that?
happen.
So why is that wrong?
So the order for that came down, and I forgot exactly what month, but early, like this big, it was basically when they launched Operation Michael in 1918, right?
Shout
They
out.
said, right,
Sorry.
yeah, shout out. Yeah. The high command, I don't know if it was Ludendorff or Hindenburg or whatever. They said,
I think it was Hindenburg at that point.
Yeah, it might have been because they said, you need to camouflage as much as you can, what you have access to, your helmets, your equipment, like your artillery, machine guns, and all that shit, like heavy equipment, as much as you can. And here's how you do it. And they gave them like 4 different colors that were authorized, the pattern that you shall paint this in. 95 actually, no, it's more higher than that. I was just gonna say 95 conservatively of German units never fucking painted their helmets or their gear. They didn't have the access to the paint, the time to do it, or they didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's a very rare thing, but it's a very iconic thing. And
Yes,
it's fucking cool, but it's
it
wasn't not as common as you'd think.
Right, and so it's
mainly remade a lot with
made famous by reenactors.
Yeah, I was gonna say post-war, World War I reenacting, and
a lot of their occupation
right?
helmets too.
Yeah,
they were painted.
A lot of those, yes, they were occupation helmets that were. Walt Disney was really good at that with both U.S. and German helmets. Yeah. He made a fucking killing for returning doughboys. He's like, hey, you want a souvenir? You know, and him and his But anyway, that's the story for another time, which is fun. But in 1917,
that's cool.
But it's really fun. But so in 1917, that would not have happened. But however, I will say this: the paint jobs that they did have on their helmets were actually really good. They didn't look shitty. They didn't look fake. Somebody spent the time in the costume department or somebody that they knew to get these helmets painted correctly. Was the right colors and the right scheme.
Was the base color like Paul's helmet? Was that correct or no?
No.
It's like a dark greenish almost. Yeah, it's not that World War II.
No, it was that Indian like blue gray. It was it's dark here, but it's basically like a duck hunter green with gloss on it.
I got you. Okay. Yeah.
That's the original German helmets were painted that color. Obviously it varies like for shade, whatever. But the camouflage jobs they had in this film, even though it's not accurate, were actually really well done. So I will give them that.
That's what I say for most of this is it's not
right.
I don't like all of it, but it looks good. Like,
it looks good.
It
looks good.
That is the one thing I do want to say. It's like, may not be, to the T of, the right of everything of the knowledge of Mike B, and that's not a slam on Mike B. It's just what he knows. It's just it doesn't look horrible. Like this again, it came. Right. It's like the same thing like we did with Death Watch. It's like the trenches and the sets and the set design look really good. The practical effects are really good. There is some CG in there that stands out, like the planes and stuff. But I mean, like you kind of have to with those forced perspective shots. But nothing stands out. Like it's really good in that sense.
Right, exactly. Like. And so, because this is all this is my last note within the first 30 minutes of the film. And then it got a lot better, and we'll talk about that in a second. I just want to get through this as quickly as possible so we can talk about this. I said, okay, so at 30 minutes, we worked out the kinks and made this better. An actual restored Stahlhelm, or am I seeing shit? Also good shit with collecting dog tags and actually snapping them in half. Because
were those the correct dog tags? Because
yes.
I know some movies don't do that right.
Yep, they were the oval shaped, perforated in the middle. And
did they change in World War II, or were they the same?
They were a little bit shaped differently, and they had different information on them.
Okay, maybe that's
the same concept.
Okay.
Same
concept. Yeah, I know. I knew it was the same concept, but I knew there was a difference between the war.
Yeah.
And the
so
War II.
in like World War I, they would have had, which we'll get into in a little bit on one of my notes, but which is actually a positive thing with the film. Is they would have, we'll just get into that when we get there. And I said, and then nope, still a repro. So like the helmets, it seems like the continuity, like for the guys that weren't the main characters, they went from like wearing originals to wearing repros, and then back to originals or whatever. The repros that they used weren't terrible. They were like the least shitty you can possibly get. but you can still tell they're repros if you're a nerd. But it gets the point across. And then next note, dog taking record scene was actually accurate when he's like going through, because they had their name, their birth date, sometimes their unit, but most of the time like the town they came from and all that shit. That was on the World War I dog tags. So that changed in World War II with your name, your unit or your regiment, and then your roster number, which they also put later on in World War I. But like, anyway, so that was pretty cool. And then
they probably went between hero helmets and non-hero helmets, depending on their placement in the scene.
But no, what I'm saying is like it changed like on different characters that like I could tell it like changed because like that looks real. And then the next scene or the next couple scenes, it's like, that's a repro. What the fuck? Like,
right.
And I get that. Like, who am I to fucking judge? But like, I just noticed that. So,
Sean, if you want to know what that noise was, that's Brian highlighting.
Well, I knew it was Brian. Yeah, I could see Brian's hands moving.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm glad you noticed that. I was looking for
yeah,
what
you were making faces, and I was like, it's Brian highlighting.
So I was like, is Brian having dinner again? Or it's not as loud.
Yeah, he's not sawing through a 2x4.
Yeah. That's sawing through drywall.
And I promise you, I'm almost done. I promise you, like, there's not like they got 4 left. The one thing that I did really bother me though is like when he's doing the scene that's in the fucking book, when he's in that shell hole with the French soldier, what the fuck belt buckle is he wearing? It looks like some modern like shit you get from a flea market.
Which one?
The
French or the German?
No, well, the French didn't have belt buckles. They had like they had like the
little.
That's how much I do.
Clasps.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
No,
Yeah,
so
clasp,
Baumer's character is wearing a fucking unidentifiable belt buckle. It's like shiny and it's got like this weird design. It's not a fucking German or Prussian or Saxon or fucking whatever design. Weird thing. Anyway,
hero belt buckle.
And so continuity. I did notice this. So in this scene with this scene, so he gets shot in the helmet, right? Initially, like that's the thing, whatever, blah blah blah. So he has the same helmet with the single hole through it, and then he puts it up in the hole and it gets shot into the water. Okay, in the crater, the big crater.
Oh, okay.
And then you see in the next couple scenes, he's walking out of the shell hole with the helmet on that he got. It's like, okay, did he swim in and get that? Which I doubt. But that's impressive, But like then you see it later on, and it's just like whatever. Okay, I get it. Like, and then this is my next note. You guys will love this. The shaved-headed kid at the end with the somber music. Are we fucking serious?
The disrespect.
Disrespected my goose.
For the mother goose.
You know exactly what the fuck that was an homage to, or like a foreshadowing to. People did not shave their fucking heads unless they had lice back in the day.
Well, maybe he
could have
did.
lice.
Yeah, Mike, come on.
Who knows?
Judgment,
Okay.
man. Fucking judgment.
Okay. Well,
How
we'll just
dare
leave it
you
at that
discriminate against a
Poor
kid
kid.
with lice? Yeah. Come on. He has a disability now.
then. He might have a disability. And then
Am I
so
gonna someone gonna come up and slap?
Don't say it.
yeah, let's say it. Chris,
I'm looking up at you.
whoops. And then a couple more and we're done. I swear to Christ, and I'll let you guys fucking talk. So Keppies in trenches of November 18 get fucked. That's what I wrote.
Mm.
No way.
Why is that bad? I don't know.
This is a
Oh
Kennedy.
no! You don't wear a fucking soft cap when you've got a helmet in the trench.
That's what it.
Yeah,
They were pretty dunzo.
For
by
some
that
reason,
point.
They were
I
done-
thought,
they were
I'm
private
remembering.
purchase.
I'm remembering the
private.
words. I'm remembering the word you said. You said platies.
I said kepi.
No, I know, but
Putties.
Putties.
Yeah.
that's what I'm
probably what he's
remembering.
talking
I was like, why is that
Two
bad?
totally different
Yeah,
things.
sorry.
No, we
Platies.
were talking about this on We Were
Made
Soldiers.
from a
Is like,
platypus.
we were talking about some We Were Soldiers. Like the kepi is like the French fucking like iconic. Everybody
Right.
under,
Right,
and it's
right,
like it's just really not good.
But it's a dress thin now. Yeah, it's
Well, by 1915, like late 1915, it was a private purchase thing that you wore behind the lines, or you wore nothing. Basically.
yeah, which,
Le Pen.
yeah, you had your overseas. I'll call it the overseas cap, but
Right.
yeah, it's not.
Well, the overseas cap didn't come out till like early 1918. So it was like for a while there, they were just like they were wearing a kepi, but it was not like the kepi that they showed in this film. Those are private purchase kepis. They wore the shitty like whatever.
One thing I wanted to, I did want to comment that I thought they did really well is that bayonet action. and always having bayonets on the rifles.
They didn't though. That's the
Not
problem.
always. Not always, but
in this
more
film,
than
or are you talking about
kinda
historically?
see.
No, in this film, they didn't have them on. And anytime you're going to be doing an assault, or you feel, or an assault's coming, not feel. I hate using that fucking word. Anytime you knew an assault was coming, or you suspected that, or you were on the assault, bayonets were fixed. It wasn't an afterthought.
I guess to comment on that though, it's like I recently got the what's it called, the bore blade, or the
Butcher blade.
Butcher
The SN805.
Yeah, I just recently got that.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, it's big.
Yeah, it's a big, heavy bastard.
Like,
with shorter than the
Listen, my
Rosalie.
G98's right there, but yeah, it's
huge.
big.
It's
Yeah.
big, and it's meaty, and that's the thing. It's like I picked it up, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, yes, Mike A. Context it how you will. Is that
he's holding a big knife?
yes?
Look at all that
is
girth.
that it's just got a lot of weight to it.
Yep.
And I want that because with this I got a quill blade, which
the
is
S98. Yep.
longer, but I feel like this thing is going to snap if once I put it into Frenchie's chest cavity. It's going to snap in
And
half.
a lot of the Germans at the beginning of the war,
Like it's
that did happen
huge.
because the S98 would, like you're holding right now, would snap because it's too
There you
thin.
go, Sean.
And the French used the Rosalie, it was commonly called.
What's the date on it? Sorry,
There is no date. It was
It should
scrubbed.
be
And it
on
would
the
break off constantly. They
top of
just
the
never
handle.
adopted.
It should be
never
where?
adopted like anything else. It's
Should
on
be
the
where?
it's on the tang.
It's on the tank. Yeah, if like the non sharp end on the bottom, right by
Not
the
sharp end.
the non sharp end. So sharp end's on the bottom. Look on the top. Okay, so
there's no fucking year on that.
okay, so on the top.
You're muted, Brian. I can't
Brian,
hear you.
we can't hear you.
Oh,
Right.
that's funny.
So
The top
Nathan,
flat
if you
edge.
attached it to the
top flat
rifle
edge
and
in
looked
front of the hill.
down,
Okay.
The top flat edge in front of the hill.
Yep.
Yes.
What's
Look
it
There should
say?
be some
A
numbers.
number
Just
and a crest. Top flat. I mean, that's not there.
not even looking at it.
What
Not
are you
even-
talking
not even
about?
Close. All right. Well,
This
you
is
know
the
what?
knife. It's right
Top
here.
flat end to what? On the here?
Right here.
Right here.
Yes, right
I
there, right
looked
there.
at
It
that.
should be there.
Well, yes.
Yep.
This,
All right.
This is all
So yours is
staying in, by the
scrubbed and
way.
it's shit. Throw it away. All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Just get rid of it.
Move along.
$5. Hold on.
Yeah, it says made in China.
What the fuck? It's got like an eagle with like a DF
Yeah.
on it.
So it's
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Well,
what?
it's a-
There should
an
be a
Imperial German
two-digit.
bayonet,
There
so-
should be
Is
two
the Eagle
numbers.
DTF?
There should be two numbers on there.
The numbers, Mason.
No, there's no numbers, Mason.
The numbers,
numbers,
Mason.
Nathan.
What
Laos,
do the numbers mean,
Mason.
Mason?
You were headed towards Laos.
Mason.
You need to remember, Mason.
Mason.
Watch, they weren't dated before like 1906.
Mason.
You
Mason.
sympathy
God,
for
you're
the
like an
devil.
old person reading a menu. Just put it away.
I don't know. I don't see it. I want the
Is it
number
like-
I have
four,
shelf
please.
astrology.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Can't
They
be too
they
spicy.
yeah they
Sorry,
they didn't
I was
like
getting
those 'cause
lost
they
in
broke.
my collection. So yeah.
But yeah, the 9805 is what they ended up issuing to all their infantry guys, or most of them. They'd issue the 98 to like reserve troops and Landsturm guys, or if they had a 98. But rifle. But yeah, it's
I
they're-
really liked the bayonet play in this movie though. Wow, context that as well you will too.
it was no, but like in all honesty, it was not bad, but it was like, well, how do you do it with real bayonets? How do you make it look, and how do
Right,
you train
exactly,
every
yeah.
fucking person? To
I
do
did see one flexible bayonet kind of jiggling around one time.
Well, but they were like, was it
Yeah.
a French one?
No. It was like it was Paul getting up and the bayonet was like flexing really hard because it was a
Oh
prop, 'cause
yeah,
he was
well
stabbing
that's
the
good.
people.
That's better than
Look, it's
what I've
better than
experienced.
shish kebabbing, fucking
Yeah, another actor, and then
Yeah.
just yeah.
whoops, I slipped.
Whoops a daisy. But
Only good is my hammer. Ugh.
all right, I got 2 notes left, and then we can fucking. I'll just shut the fuck up. I promise. So
Hold him
there
to
are no.
it.
So in the oh I. you can
No,
hold
no,
your
go,
fucking
go,
tune.
go.
No.
Yeah.
So the this is actually very important because like the last scene with
Hurry
the
up.
whole trench thing. So there are no sentries in the French trench. The commanding officer has to fucking hear the thumping of the feet to know that there's an attack coming on. Bullshit.
But because
I thought he
that's
was
the
gonna
same guy that
smell-
Paul stabbed in the shell hole. Like, or it's the
I-
exact same actor, which is direct out of the original movie.
Oh, really?
Which I kind of like. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah. If you
cool.
look, it's the same guy.
Oh
It's,
yeah,
it's the same actor. The guy died, but like in the original, he stabs that man to death, and then he is the French sniper that shoots him. He's dead, but
Right.
he looks exactly like him. It's like him coming for revenge almost, and that's the same thing in this movie. Although just a random Frenchman stabs him in the back, and he just kind of looks at him as he gets stabbed in the back.
Whoops.
Yeah, whoops! Oh, I missed that opportunity again.
I
Yeah, I didn't even notice the relation until you explained it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that
yeah.
guy,
If
he's
you
got a
if you watch the original,
mustache.
yeah, if you watch the original, you'll get it.
wow,
Like,
guy with the
he's
mustache looks
sniper.
all the same. Wow. Jeez.
Yeah, but he
French
is
man with
the
mustache.
commanding officer
Yeah.
is the guy he stabs.
I did think that he was gonna say. I thought the way he was gonna be able to like tell the Germans were coming was that he was gonna smell the air, and I was gonna laugh hysterically because that was the way he kind of like was like looking up dramatically, like. And I was waiting for him to go.
They're downwind.
They're coming.
They're close. I can smell them.
Yeah. But no, I mean, like, Brian, you've been quiet. Why don't
You've been very quiet, Brian.
Why don't you you chime up with something you fucking hated?
I hate it. No, I was just a little disappointed,
Yeah.
and it didn't hold my attention. I was like, this is just like some key scenes from the book put together with other things that really don't work well,
Mhm.
and it's not stitched together at all, and it's just a wasted opportunity. You know, it's like, so when they remake this movie again in 40 years, you know, maybe they'll make it better.
I
But
just
it's
want
like
the 1930s
90
one with 2020 technology. That's
Yeah,
all I
and,
want.
Like, why is that so hard? And maybe some more motives or whatever. But like, it's been basically what this film says to me is it's 92 years in the progress of film and filmmaking and abilities. You know, Hitchcock, everybody, Kubrick, and we've made a worse product than we have 92 years ago. And it's like, why even try to remake something? You know, make a movie with the Armistice. It's really fucking cool. I'd love to see that. You know,
Yeah.
don't fucking keep troping up this old shit.
That's what
That's
I
like-
said.
I saw-
The
yeah.
Armistice stuff by itself is interesting.
Yeah,
It
I don't
just-
hate
Yeah.
those scenes. I hate that they're in this
Yeah,
movie.
that they're in the fucking
Yeah.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so jarring.
But if you
Um,
were,
It's like people that watch Fury,
No, it's okay.
and like hate it, and like, this fucking movie sucks shit. And then they somehow they watch the deleted scenes and they're like, what happened? Like, fucking what cheese grater did this go through to get so fucked up? And like, that's how I feel about this. And it's like, it could have been really good, but no, you were like, oh, let's just try to make it what it's not and jam it in the suitcase. And fucking okay.
if you
but it just
so
doesn't work.
so this is an impossible question to answer. I feel like because well, you'll see. Is that if you were to scrub, not change anything about this movie, but scrub the name off of it, would your opinion differ?
Yeah.
I would
Mine
call it
would
Westfront
too, yeah.
1918, and yeah, I would.
Well, I wouldn't call it that. No, sure. That's a really good fucking movie.
German-
It's better than
I
this
mean,
one as well.
I would still-
1918, yeah.
I would still have issues with it, but like, because then
Oh, yeah,
then I
for
might
sure.
just say, oh, this is kind of like All Quiet on the Western Front meets Paths of Glory, but like, I don't know, but I think it would still. There's some stuff in it that's really well done, but yeah, I would like it more if it wasn't connected.
Because
to
that's kind of what I'm trying to paint my
Like-
picture of my take is that I don't have this comparison, so I don't have this
Right.
stigma to be like it's not this.
right.
So I wonder if
You know-
my rating is going to be higher for that because I don't have that stuff to compare it to. Like, I hate to use this as a comparison, but it's the only major comparison I can compare it to is that
Only you can answer that question.
I
Yes,
know.
your rating is your rating, Nate.
no. I get that. I'm just saying, like, I hate to use this as a comparison, but like, I love Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter books. I love reading those. I just loved it. The movies came out. The first interpretation of it, I loved. The first and second, I loved. It felt like it was as part of what I was imagining. And then the rest of them on, I always had this chip on my back because it wasn't like the book. It wasn't what I was picturing. It wasn't the things I was thinking. And I always hold those movies lower than the first and or the first two. And so I wonder is that, you know, if we were, and I guess you guys have already answered, is that if we were to rip the title off of this movie, then, you know, would you still have like a stigma of being like, oh, it could have been so much better, blah, 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 blah.
I would
Well,
probably still
it's
say,
like-
what if they took all this money and made a All Quiet on the Western Front remake?
Well, just one quick thing, because now I get thinking and my creativity starts going, and it's like, what if they called it All Quiet in the Eastern Front, and they fucking go to the East and the war ends, and they think the war is over, and then they fucking go to the West and the armistice happens? That would make it make a lot more sense. It would be in the same vein, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And you could talk about a whole new front of the war that's mentioned in the original novel.
I just
So,
make a movie about the armistice process, like from
Yeah.
the Social Democrats and the general's perspective. Like, that book I keep telling you to read, Brian, The Kins Depart, is fucking
I know.
phenomenal. Like,
It's somewhere.
shit, I get off the pot with that because I'm coming back for that book. It's a
Wow.
phenomenal story, and it's like I don't hate those
The
scenes.
Kings are
I-
coming back.
Yeah, I don't like how they're in the movie. Like, they just don't belong here. Like,
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that there needs to be a Japanese headquarters room, and they need to start planning how they're going to.
Wait a minute. What's that in the
Yeah.
distance? It's a circle of Asian men wearing black uniforms.
Well,
if we put the wood
Top
port on the
hats,
torpedo, yeah.
It's like if in Das Boat we cut to the Kriegsmarine, like
Admiral Dornit's plan.
right.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
taking
Gernit's trying to
it
keep
out of
Franco out of the
their
war?
story.
Like,
Yeah,
listen,
like
It's just like, what the fuck is this? Which is funny because that's what the TV show of Das Boat started to do.
I haven't watched it.
It's-
I don't want to
It's
ruin that
fucking.
anyway.
Well, the funny thing is that the U-boat stuff, just like the movie, is like interesting, and they do new stuff with it. But then it keeps cutting to like espionage shit, and I'm just like, no, I agree. No one has
I
ever
think it'd
done
be cool
Resistance
to see a
well.
good like.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, there is one movie we'll watch eventually,
Okay,
and obviously I can't think of it offhand, but
it is. It
I've
sucks.
recommended it
Yeah,
before.
the TV show. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the TV show sucks.
Mm.
What the fuck's the name of that movie? The Army of Shadows.
yeah.
So good.
Okay.
Have you seen it, Sean?
No, but you've talked about it like 8,000 times, so I feel like I have
It's
seen it.
so
'cause
good.
I was about to say the title of the movie.
We'll have to do an episode because I haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
Or The Man Escaped. Or A Man Escaped. That's the only other good Resistance style
From
movie
High
that's
Castle?
based in Gestapo prison.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
I escaped from High Castle when I didn't watch any of the
Yeah,
episodes.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
If we're gonna talk
No,
about
Mike B, I'm not holding you to silence. You can break this oath of silence.
Oh no, I talked for
Okay.
fucking the majority.
Okay.
Of it, so I'm just
when it comes
Okay.
to technical stuff, the one thing that I noticed in this was there's a little too much of this sort of, like the low
Oh,
ready
yeah.
carry and shit.
I didn't see it as much
Mainly
as I
in
thought
the
I was going
trench,
to.
you
It's
see
in the
it.
trench
In the
clear
trench,
where
yeah.
I would also have my rifle up like that though, so it's
correct.
excusable.
But the
it's
part-
not as egregious as in most
The
movies.
part where they're moving through the field and they see the guy up in the tree, there's a guy, he has his rifle, like,
yeah,
one stop.
Yeah,
Yeah. and I'm just like,
Yeah,
You've seen that.
it's
C clamp with a bolt action.
right. Yeah.
Chris
Low-
Costa on a G98.
Woo!
Yeah, right. Who's that old NRA guy that's like the fastest shot in the world?
Jerry Mitchell.
Like Jerry Mitchell with a G98.
the Texas
Pew,
Ranger.
pew, 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 pew. There we go.
Texas Ranger.
This doesn't exist on IMFDB yet.
It
no,
really?
it does, but it's not
There's
a
no
full list, and
screenshots.
there's no screenshots.
Ah.
So
I was going to ask about the Hotchkiss, Mike. I don't know if you noticed it. The
Yeah, I did.
brief scene where the French have the Hotchkiss, it looks like they have like a cloth belt coming out of it. Like
No, they had a tray.
I swear to God, like I
It
saw
might have just been some
it looks
equipment
like
or some shit, but it might
Yeah,
have. I don't
I-
know. Yeah, it might have been.
It looked like something. It looked like it had a belt flowing through it. I was like, "Ooh, that is wrong." Like,
Yeah.
maybe it was the fucking gas propane
because
hose coming off.
Hotchkiss is the clip.
the tray.
It's
tray,
24
Air
round
cooled,
tray.
too.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
looked like it had some sort of cloth belt coming off the side of it. Like, yeah, it looked a little wacky.
Isn't that?
It was
Isn't that
only
what-
there for a second.
French,
Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
aren't the French using a Maxim at some point too? I think.
Yeah, they are.
What?
It's like
Which is-
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, a Maxim, not a Madsen. Sorry, I
It's
heard
not
Madsen. No,
likely that they would use that
Got
there,
a
but
boner.
I guess because because they have to get ammo for it, and like are they going to put it on their front lines and like whatever.
Well, I think they're in a German trench at that point.
no they were at their
Nice.
they were at their trench at the end.
Were they?
Yeah,
No,
because they go from the 08 or the MG08 to the Hotchkiss, and I'm like, oh, the Hotchkiss, fucking A.
yeah, but at the end trench they're in, the French are using the Maxim, and he dies in. That's where Paul dies, and he's looking at the girl, like the half of the poster that he ripped off, and it's on the trench wall. So I think it's a German trench they're in.
No,
was
that was
strange.
the
I remember
French
that.
trench
Yeah.
they captured. Remember that?
Yeah. But
That
maybe it was their original. Anyway, we're trying to explain why they have a Maxim. They have it.
yeah.
They had that trench. He put that poster there. They went and tried to assault. They got pushed back by the flamethrowers. The guy who put the poster there died, and then they had to retreat past their trench because then they took that out.
Right.
So the French occupied their old trench, and then at the end, that's what they were trying to retake was that old trench.
I wanted to ask about that. Were those flamethrowers accurate to how they would have been?
No.
Yeah, because I thought they were like 2-man operation type thing. Like,
the German ones were. The French were. Correct me if I'm wrong. The French were 1-man packs, but they didn't use them for that long.
They
1918, I don't
and
know
they
if
didn't
were
use them
around
like
anymore.
This is basically like they saw the Lost Battalion, right? Whoever made this movie saw the Lost Battalion.
Yeah,
and
it's
they were like, "Oh, we're just going to adapt that terror, of a tactic to this film," because the French did not use flamethrowers like that. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Isn't that more of a German doctrine thing than the French?
Yeah,
well,
but
it was
also you get in the trench. You don't stand in front of
Correct,
it. Like,
like they just like.
When also they weren't actually like those were just like propane fucking. Like a flamethrower, it's called a flame.
The real flamethrowers are much more scary.
Yeah, it's called a flame thrower for a reason, not a flame, exhibition. It's like, dude, it's like flamethrowers. They shoot fucking napalm.
Yeah,
like it goes a ways, right? And it's a stream of liquid gas that hits you. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna hit you with the fucking.
I don't know what the comparison is for World War One. I mean, I would only assume that the technology didn't change that much from World War One to World War Two in terms of flamethrowers. Other than
it got longer
distance.
distance.
Other than
longer
distance,
they changed.
Well, then wouldn't your concept? I mean, I don't know. I didn't feel like they did not show the performance of a World War One flamethrower. To me, I thought they actually were pretty good.
Well,
because if you compare it to
sucked.
World War Two, yes. It does not fucking compete, but in terms of World War One, like I feel like that worked tactically. No,
you see,
but
there's training footage of Germans using World War One flamethrowers, and they're pretty fucking terrifying.
They
go pretty fucking far.
As far as World War II ones?
I mean, kind of like. I mean,
yeah, they just
I
here's
can't
the thing.
comment on the fucking length of like World War II flamethrowers.
They were less reliable and
okay. All right. Okay, Sean. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. You got me on that. I meant more like.
What I'm saying is,
you're not going to use a flamethrower unless you're actually. It's like the fucking the trench gun thing that everybody jacks off about. Like, oh, the trench gun. It's like,
convention.
Yeah, you're not going across no man's land. You're not assaulting a position using a trench gun. You are using that trench gun after the position has been overrun, and you're going in close quarters. So in the flamethrower, and like how they're all chucking grenades into the dugouts and all that shit. Well, that's what a flamethrower does. You just go. It doesn't burn them. It just sucks all the oxygen out. So they're going to have to come out if you don't burn them, And that's how that was used. It was like to just get guys out of fucking positions, just like it was in World War II. And it's like, if you're walking across no man's land, somebody is going to fucking hit you. Right. And if you're just walking across,
they did show that too.
Gas.
They did show that after the terror.
They showed a guy
the
blowing
terror
up,
attack, like one guy blowing up. But yes, I agree.
Yeah, but how do you blow up?
Which would happen.
If you
have that fireball thing. Yeah.
He went kaboom, Mike. That's normally how you blow up.
Yeah, but if you got a copper jacketed bullet, how the fuck is the spark going to happen?
Yeah, no, I saw that trope. I was like, yeah, I knew they were going to do that. They always do that.
That's what everyone does when you see a flamethrower. Like, that's a bomb on your back.
I know. That drives me nuts.
But no, they're just not going to want to. They're going to want to waste like all the fuel and shit as they're walking across it. They're going to be like, get the fuck over to that trench, and like fucking get in there, and they'll tell you where to go.
Yeah. The tactic is to be in the trench, so when you come around the corner, you just have the flame going, and there's nowhere. Yeah, you're fucked at that point.
Another thing too is that usually I'm not sure when it comes to World War I exactly, but like when the moment you use it, like. That's the one time you use it. Like it sprays all that out really fast.
It's about five to 7 seconds.
Right. Yeah. It's not like you continue to keep going or anything like that. It's like once you use it, that's pretty much the only time.
Well, it doesn't just throw like they were showing. Like every fucking movie does this. Where like it's just like this fire that comes out. It's like no, you're literally spewing a shitload of fluid.
It's like a beam. Yeah.
And the outside is on fire, and then it hits its target, and then all the fumes and shit start to explode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or ignite, and that's how it is. And like, yeah, an M2 lasts about 5 to 6 seconds.
Mhm.
Like if you were to just go hold the fucking trigger down, it's 5 to 6 seconds, and that's
then
it.
it's done. Yeah.
That's
'Cause
it,
it's-
and that's the same
yeah.
in World War One. Yeah.
I mean, that bottle is not that big. You
Nope.
know? Yeah. So
The amount of compressed nitrogen or CO2 in some cases, like it's 5 to 6 seconds tops.
Mhm.
So
Sean just sent something in on to us with the
What is
flamethrower
this?
example. Yes,
Yeah,
fuck.
that's literally World War One German training footage
Yeah.
of them using flamethrowers.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
they're in the trench.
I was gonna say no. I mean, like, I'm not arguing with that. Fuck that. Entirely.
that.
Like
Flammenwerfer troop.
it's just
like
like
it's not hundreds of feet, but it's
Right.
it's
I guess my
it's like
It's
30 to
farther
40
than it was in
yards.
the movie.
It's like 30 to 40
my
yards.
my
Yeah.
comparison to that is more like, okay, it's not going to be the same pressure and the same distance of like an M2 flamethrower from the United States Army.
They were
in
pretty
World War II.
similar, yeah.
But it's going to be maybe half that in terms of distance of what that is.
No,
It's
they're
still fucking
basically the
bad news
same.
bears. That's not my point, but I'm just saying.
They just the system itself was a lot less reliable than the M2,
Okay.
but it's the same, almost the same performance, a little bit less, but not like as much as you'd think.
Right.
So
okay.
yeah,
Sorry, Brian.
Right,
I
yeah.
interrupted
Just,
you. Were you?
funny? You
Yeah.
did funny tidbit. For some reenacting and stuff. So you know how like they have like the qualification badges for like M1 Garand or BAR and stuff. There's one of our friends. He found one for flamethrower, and fucking you could qualify with a flamethrower like at the range until like I think the mid or late 50s, and like you could be an expert flamethrowerman or something. And like so you always wore it around.
Hey, I mean,
It's fucking. Well, let's think about that. Like, okay, guys, we're qualifying. The M2 flamethrower. Fucking, like, it's just a funny little, qualification badge. But
dude, they actually did use G98s though. Like, to be honest, like they did use G98s.
Yeah, it
So-
was pretty. I didn't see anything egregious. Like the guy had a ruby at the end. Like
Yep.
the French all seemed to have Berthiers. Like
Which
pretty
was-
good.
I was looking for labels, but I couldn't find them.
Yeah, you would have most likely seen the 1886-93, but that's forgivable. But yeah,
I have no idea what that is. PO8. Fuck.
what is
no
this
idea.
thing?
Yeah.
Was that in Star Wars?
you're thinking of the C96.
So yeah, apparently
Yeah.
it's an unknown pistol. The French soldier is seen with an unknown pistol.
It's
in
a
the
it's a
trailer.
fucking
Boo.
ruby. It's
Yeah.
a fucking ruby.
That's not on here. So
Um,
yeah.
I-
So yeah, they had
yeah.
a bunch of G98s and they had K98 AZs.
I actually
Apparently
missed the
there's
AZs.
K98K.
awesome AZs.
Well,
all-
I missed them too, but I also
The stacking swivel.
Apparently, there was just a regular
K98.
K98K too.
Yeah, go down. Really? Okay.
I don't remember
Yeah, the
that.
0715 Berthier. Yep.
in the trailer, huh?
Oh, this is just in the trailer.
Love the Berthiers.
I wish I could find LaBelle ammo again.
I've got plenty of it. It's awesome.
Well, wait, hold on.
Two types of people in this
Hold
world.
on,
The two types of people in
Is
this chat.
LaBelle's not 7.5, is it? It's its own thing, right?
No,
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 it's
take-
8
No,
millimeter
it's an
LaBelle.
8x51 or 8x50,
Oh,
whatever the
okay.
fuck you want to call it.
I don't think I even shot mine yet, to be honest. No, I have.
That will require you to go to the range, Brian.
Yep, the 08, the MLE 14. Yep,
Oh, I love the 14.
the 14. That's a beast. Most of the AEF use that. As
Was
their
that was
heavy.
were those the guns? Did they have Hotchkisses in the tanks?
Yes.
Okay. 'cause
Yeah, but
the
it was a different model. But yeah, it was
Okay, 'cause the
yeah,
barrels
it was
look the
essentially
same,
that.
so that's why
It
I
was
was curious.
essentially that. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. M16 or the M.
The
Model
markings on the
16.
grenades looked like shit. By the way, it was not good. It was fucking terrible. But like the grenades themselves were not bad. They were repros, but like whatever. I can't fault them for that. Yeah, I have no idea about the fucking 12 gauge.
You barely saw it, and then they have three things here.
Spad 13, Chamon.
What's
Saint-Chamond
what,
and
what's
French.
what's a Chamon?
The
That's
Saint
the-
Chamond is
that's
a tank.
At the tank.
Yeah, it's the-
okay.
It's
This is
that
where it was
big ass long thing.
So I know
Big ass
I
long.
only asked this because I want to ask how prevalent they might have been, Sean, because us obviously, and so does Mike B.
Yeah, it's gonna
The well, I say this only because you might know, and I'm going to mention the Mummy here. The Mummy, he has French revolvers. What revolvers are those?
Those are the 1892
Okay.
Bell, quote unquote,
Okay.
revolvers,
Were those?
which went out on
Were
the left.
those? Were they
Oh,
pretty
sorry, on
much?
the right.
Were they pretty much out phasing those with the
Nope.
rubies?
Nope.
No,
Nope.
Try 1950. They outfaced them.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, they were around for a long. They were kicking around for a while.
Those
wow.
France
fuckers,
had a
yeah.
handgun problem for quite some time. Yeah.
Well,
A wheel
so
gun
here,
problem,
here I'm going to
so-
blow your mind, Nate. The rubies were actually made in Spain under
Yeah.
contract to
Yeah, most
France.
of them were.
Yeah.
Shipped right. They were made in like a Bosque like warehouse, like a workshop somewhere. That was
Yes.
Okay, I've been passing them up thinking they're not true French guns, so I should stop doing that.
That's funny.
No, yeah,
you should.
they'll be in
Fuck.
Spanish or
If it
like
says
in
it's a French
English.
birth
Or,
year,
I could
then
have
you
got
should
one.
pass
I
that one
could have
up.
got one for $80
Or
last
ruby.
night.
They,
Fuck.
they're literally they're 1903 hammerless
really
rip
cheap.
that the Spanish made and the French bought them.
Yeah, and like Sean said, they were made in
hysterical.
like mom and pop shops, like in Spain.
Yeah, I have like one called like
everywhere,
mine's from Zayuluka and Co. Like where the fuck is that? Like
You never heard of Zayuluka?
yeah,
No?
Zayuluka. Like I
Sean, did you know this? Like they ordered so
They
many
make great
of them,
buckets.
and like they had a huge problem with like magazine.
Oh, I have a problem with the magazine.
Yeah.
Mine has a Zayuluka mag and it doesn't fucking work in the Zayuluka gun. Like it's fucking infuriated.
Yeah, it's the mags. Like you have to get the ones that were made in that month at the exact time.
Clearly, I gotta fucking try again because mine does not work.
If nobody ever reloaded the gun in 100 years, you're good to go. If somebody ever did, you're fucked. Like, you know.
No, it's beyond that. It's because all these things, like when they contracted, Spain was like, Ibar was like, oh my god, excellent, let's do this. All right, good stuff. We got money. You manufacture like 3 firearms per year. You're not going to manufacture 3,000 pistols for us.
They were like they accepted the contract. The French were like, good, we'll take 100,000 of them. Like,
And they got them, and they were like, we love them. We want more.
yeah, more.
But wait, there's more.
How do you sell them? It's
RUB. It's Ruby.
RUBY.
Ruby. Yep.
RUBY.
That was what the French called them. That's like the nomenclature.
Yeah.
Spain.
Where'd that name come from?
I don't know actually. Yeah.
Ibar?
What?
Ibar is like one of the,
Ibar means something. Yeah, but
it was a big manufacturer of them, and it was a huge arms company that got a shitload of
would
contract.
Longines be a Spanish manufacturer?
Probably. Like I don't actually know all the manufacturers.
There's a ton, Nathan.
Okay,
There's so many, and like
I
some
I see
made-
one every time I go online.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some made 400, some made 400,000 eventually.
Gotcha.
You know, it's like
Okay.
you don't know. Like it's so out there. Like I have one. I have to go back and look at the markings and everything, but like it works great. It shoots great. It's fucking accurate, and it is actually really comfy to shoot. It's a big blocky son of a bitch for a 32, but hey, the French loved them.
Right.
So
It's
they
really
worked.
funny. I've been doing a lot of research on dry set 1907s and
Yeah.
how many times they were pocketed and brought back here in the States and how prevalent they are here now
Yeah.
because of that. Like that's really interesting to me considering they're literally.
I've shot mine, and it's a weird one, but yeah, it's fun.
they're really
accurate.
accurate. Yeah.
Yep, very very accurate.
Yeah.
It just handles really weird, and it's a weird, very weird action, and the grip is way too short for my fat hands. But
Brian's
Want me to start?
soldiering on tonight, so we're gonna let's full of energy here.
You okay there, Brian?
No,
No, he's fine.
oh,
No,
I'm
he's
fine.
tired. He's just working.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know what working. I know what
Saturday.
worked hard Brian looks like. And this is what worked hard Brian looks like.
That's
Well
one worked hard, Brian.
Yeah, worked.
I'd say Sean's the most qualified here of anyone.
do you,
I've only
do
known
you
you
know
for
how to
20
work
years.
out your Brian, Sean?
No, not that. The fucking, we
I
always
do have
used to go to
to
reenactments,
be up and
and I was
Yeah,
horrible.
I know.
Like,
You have an early morning, so that's why I want to push this forward. Yeah.
I was horrible at like fucking taking care of myself. So Sean would always be like, "Brian, your lips are blue. You're dehydrated." I'm like, "Oh fuck." So, yeah, if Sean could read me, you know. Anyway, but no, I just really did keep reading. I said, just they put so much shit into a fucking movie that it makes it hard to understand, not well laced together, and annoying and a disappointment. I would have wished this movie was either its own thing with no affiliation to the name or in the book, or a complete, like Sean said, 2022 variation or version of this. yeah, it's just a wasted opportunity. But that being said, it's good for what some scenes and what it tries to do and stuff. I mean, like I said, I did enjoy some things, and but I still think that the 1930 version does it the best, which is just insane to say. It's like, I'm going to drive a Model T because it's just better than a Tesla. I mean,
Well.
it's just, I don't know. But
it's saying that a Tesla never surpassed the Model T essentially is what what this movie is like.
Well, it's like what delivers it better, I mean,
I do understand what you mean. It's like it'll be very interesting for me to go back and see the 1930s version to compare it to kind of what you said, because I don't have that bias of seeing this and then before the rest or after the rest. So it'd be very interesting to go through and see that, and then to kind of understand what you mean, because I do very much resonate with what you mean about, does a movie that's tackling a movie that's been done before mega powerhouses compared to what it was to what it is now, because of all of the powerhouses going through and influencing all of movie and film and pop culture. Like, how does that kind of do it? And I think it has, in a way, in terms of cinematography. However, I don't think in storytelling.
And that's what Brian is saying, and I totally, because you'll know what he's saying.
I'm just trying to emphasize that.
No,
I want to make sure I'm understanding Brian.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct, because it's what he said when he goes, either make a fucking separate film that doesn't have the title, or make All Quiet on the Western Front better than the previous two versions, and it just so that it's like, crystal clear.
But just like remakes in general, like if you're gonna remake something, you should try to make
for the third fucking time.
Yeah, I mean, like that always doesn't happen,
right?
It usually doesn't happen. But like that's what you should try to do. So they're like, let's remake it, but make it totally different. So just make another movie. Like why are you gonna go through the hassle? Like let's make let's make Forrest Gump, but it's set, in the future. Why?
That's an interesting.
Why? But you know what I mean?
Analogy.
Like it's like, like what are you doing? It's just like, oh, here he's running through Saturn. Like fucking. It's why are you trying to adapt these things? Just make a different movie. It's like be original. I hate it when Hollywood does this, because it's like, just fucking be original. I get it. You have writer strikes and this and the other thing, but like just make a cool movie. If you're going to take one thing away from this, read the book, see the original, and somebody make an armistice movie, because we'd all pay for it to watch it. Like that would be awesome. So,
yeah, you could really, really, really nail down a really good movie with just that theme together alone, and do it completely different from what anyone else has really seen.
Yeah, like with the armistice movie that's out there already. Oh, wait a minute, you mean the scenes from the remake to All Quiet on the Western Front? Like, there's nothing.
Right.
It would be great.
So, what's your rating, Brian? What would you rate this?
I thought a lot about it, and like, I don't know. In the end, I'd have to give it a 7 out of 10, because like, it's not good for what it's trying to attempt to do, to be a remake of the original, but it does have good parts and it does look good. But it's just like, it's scenes not stitched together. It's like somebody took a bunch of shit and they're like, they just squished it together and said, here's my remake. And again, good parts, bad parts, whatever, like, but it just doesn't work. Like, I love, basically the tank scene for me is like 2 points of that 7, because that was fucking awesome. It's a remake of a tank scene from West Front 1918 that also has a lot of scenes that were it's funny, that movie came out a year before All Quiet, and it has a lot of similar scenes. Obviously with different productions and things, World War I, but it's just funny how it's like very similar. It's like there's this show, or what is it? Flight of the Conchords, and towards the end of it, they have this like song that gets popular and stuff, and one of the main characters is like, well, this is a version, they ripped us off, but this one came out 13 years before ours did. So, they're the real people that ripped us off.
But our cover came out 5 years after theirs.
Yeah. Like, it's just funny how these things, but anyway, just not well done. And I wish it was a better movie, and I am disappointed from it. So
harsh.
And I'll pass the talking pill to you, Michael.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love
What's your hot take?
I would love to know the story behind this and exactly what the writer, director, whatever was wanting to do, and why it kind of became this very watered down version of the source material. Yes, it is a missed opportunity, and really, it should just be its own thing if it's going to deviate so much from the source material. So yeah, I think, but I think in my rating, I'm going to go 6 out of 10 because yeah, it does have some good things in it. It's just, I don't know, it was very underwhelming. So I just what the fuck? That's just what I would want to know when it comes to this. What like how this got made exactly? What the director was, the writer and director, if they were the same person, I don't know what they were going for exactly. If because obviously there's two other adaptations of it. The book is there. Clearly, they read the book because there are a lot of lines from the book in the movie, that are not in the other two movies. So just what the fuck? Yeah, so 6 out of 10, and I will go to Nathaniel, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you for
The man's erect.
yeah. Throbbing. I can't even do that. Fucking hell. So
I'm
yeah,
hard as a fucking rock.
hard as a fucking rock right now. Yeah. Harder than
J-Rock?
Chinese algebra. So I'm looking up currently the director of this one, and I'm trying to
Didn't
see
he
what
do
he
Deutschland '83? This guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to see.
Did he?
here.
I remember
love
reading that.
Deutschland
Somebody
83.
involved in that. I think it was
The-
the director that did this movie.
It's a series, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
D83, D86,
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
and D89.
2013 or
Wow.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bananas in the fucking
He also-
supermarket.
Doesn't make it better, but more power
he
to him.
did the Terror.
Oh, the Terror! I just finished that.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's great, too.
Okay. He did three.
The
he-
Terror is
Mark,
yeah,
he
the
did-
Terror
he
is
did
good, and it's
three-
actually
he did 3 episodes.
pretty good for the source material.
He
Like,
did 3 episodes of the Terror apparently.
Oh.
Okay,
Not
yeah,
the
the
whole
Terror's
thing.
good.
But yeah. So yeah.
Pass me my leaded cup.
So I mean, like, it's funny. It's like I'm trying to think of how I feel about this movie because even now, me being completely not at all, like I said before 1,000 times already, I haven't seen anything of things before. This was very interesting to me because I felt like things were off, but I didn't know why, or I felt things were lazy and I didn't know why. And I think I know why. It's that, they're coming up with either bridges of something they had to change or things that they wanted to change for their own story. However, being probably, having a fresh outlook on this, I look at this, I wasn't bored. I didn't look at my phone. I had to pause the movie once for kid requested ramen, so I got ramen for kid. So, it's like, in the middle of a battle, it's like ramen. It's like, okay, fine. All right, pause it for that. But, the thing is that I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't distracted. It held my attention. But I really think that has to do with the cinematography and the editing than the actual story itself. Because I think this movie does do phenomenally well with its cinematography. Its editing is a B in my eyes, just because I don't know what the fuck they're doing sometimes, and the story is meh to me. But other than the highlight reels and the thing, in sense, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie for what it is. But I will say this is that it has definitely made me want to go into the older ones, to read the book, to do all that stuff, because I feel like that a common thing that we always say with all these is that this is a gateway to get into a subject. This is going to be my gateway to get into the older movies, the book, and compare, and then come up with my own conclusion with what I think about with that. Because I feel like that is the good thing about this movie. What this movie will do is that it will bring in a younger generation to really understand the older information and possibly the even better information. And or maybe bridge them into actually learning more World War I history in general. And again, I think something that I always like to really kind of touch on, because whatever can get more people past our generation into the subject, the better it's going to be for staying alive and being relevant. Because I mean, the buck stops here if it doesn't go any further. So I mean, like I think that's the most important thing about this movie. We can say all of our scores all we want. Watch the damn thing, come up with it yourself. But this is just our takes on that, and we all have different scores for what we find more important with our reviews. And so I feel like that's the most important thing here. But I mean, I think for me, I would have to go a 7 out of 10 Screaming Mel Gibson's, because I think it's, the all the points that Brian and Michael have both pointed out, I agree with. And I've also come up with my own conclusions, like with the editing, the weird story dynamics. Those will pull it down for me. But the cinematography is fucking gorgeous. And the practical effects and the CG effects do really well. And those are the things I always focus on. So I really liked it for that reason. So I pass it off to
Well, what's the score?
7 out of
Yeah.
10. Yeah.
7.
I does Sean go?
Nope.
I haven't gone yet.
Sean go.
Like I said earlier, I was really excited for this movie because I love this story, and I always, even before I knew there was a remake, I was like, this is a story that needs to be told again made more accessible to a modern audience, because there's a lot of people who just won't watch black and white movies because they suck.
Agreed. Yep.
Yeah, and it's such a shame because it's such a good story, like just the brutality of war and the futility of it all. But after all that, the original from 1930 still reigns supreme. I mean, this is, as I said before, this is a good World War I movie about like the last few days of World War I. It's a bad All Quiet on the Western Front movie. I like some of the scenes in this movie. Like like the first bombardment they go through, where his like friend with the glasses runs out of the bunker. I really like that scene. There's scenes in the tank attack. There's scenes I like, but it just, when it comes all together, I've just kind of left a little like, okay, like it's good. I like it, but it's not what I wanted it to be, and it's not an All Quiet on the Western Front movie. It's just some World War I German movie. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 as well. It's good. I think you should sit down and watch it. To then be like, well, now I want to go watch the 1930s one, because that's a good movie. Yeah, that's 7 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, you guys hit a lot of points. I won't rehash them. I'll just touch on them. Yeah, I thought a lot of the CG was actually really good in this one. And I usually fucking hate CG. Cannot stand it. A lot of the scenes were pretty brutal and like kind of, convey the brutality that happened in a way that I guess modern audiences would be like, oh, it's really fucked up. I guess my biggest gripe about this is, I did like most of it, as far as if I were to see it for the first time and be like in Nate's shoes, where I haven't read the book or seen all the other renditions of this. My biggest gripe is that they were so far off from the book, and they took a lot of creative liberty, I guess you'll call it, to make it so different. And I think it was a kick in the nuts to Remarque's, original work, because even though the first two films were they had their shortcomings, they actually followed the fucking story, right? Pretty much verbatim, right? As close as they could. And that to me is something that that's not forgivable to me. If you're gonna title it the same as a fucking amazing work that has been written and known about by a lot of people, you need to fucking own up to that, and you need to at least follow it and not just throw random pieces of it in there with some similar names. They didn't even have all the fucking characters in that, which pissed me off. But so that was a huge cut for me, no go. Now I'm going to touch on this point, and then I'll give it my score, and we can wrap this up. What you guys said about this possibly and more than likely getting people in, like Battlefield 1 was one thing, that's a video game, but getting people in to go, oh, well, hey, I can go at least see the shitty 79 version or the 30 version, which was to me, the acting sucked, but they followed the book and it actually got the fucking point across very well. And the gear was pretty cool. I like that because it was all original or mostly original. But if it gets or to read the fucking book, like if it gets a kid that's like 15 years old or whatever that's watching Netflix to go, oh, I'm so used to like studying Normandy and just Omaha Beach and Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers, and they go, oh well, maybe I can look into this and like figure out that, and also get the message of like, yeah, war is not good. Because this is what happens. It just fucking destroys people.
There's no patriotic moments in this film.
No.
I like that.
Yeah,
I
no,
like
it's
they
fake.
at least
Yeah,
did
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That was if they would have made it like that, it would have gotten a 1 out of 10 for sure. Like I'd have been like, fuck you. Like no way. Because that's not what Emmerich was going for when he wrote this fucker. Like not at all. And so anyway, I do appreciate that it's modern, and I hope it gets more people into learning about the First World War and war in general and how it's not really great and what actually transpired there. Read the fucking novel. It's so good. And it's not a hard read. You can read it. If you've got average reading skills, you can read it in a day.
Well,
Mike listened to it one day. So
because I was at work, so I didn't have time to read the
Right,
book.
yeah, you could listen to it in 6 hours, but like if you want to read it and you've got average reading skills, you could do it in a day. I fucking read it in high school, and it was
Make sure to read it at work.
yes. But
I could
anyway, but please, like, I encourage people who are listening to this, like, of all ages, if you've never read All Quiet on the Western Front, the original, please do that. And you'll understand what we're talking about a lot more. And it's just a great fucking read. But anyway, so because of the fact that they fell so short on, they just went so far away from the story, the original like plot and how things transpired. Cinematography was good. The props, I already went through all the shit that was wrong and good. Not terrible at all. But because they strayed so far from the fucking original novel, it irritates me. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10.
Not as punishable as I thought you were gonna go. So that's
No. I just that's the only reason it scored that fucking low is because I just have a problem with them straying as far as they did from what Remarque wrote. So, yeah, there we go.
Putting all the scores into the computer that will tell us what other film to remake and make worse. It is 6.4 out of 10.
Not terrible.
Middle of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
it's about a middle of the road movie.
It's higher than Hyena Ride,
it
so
really
that's
is.
all that matters.
Yeah. It's funny, Mike. 2 weeks ago, we went from your highest high of Mosul, and now to your lowest. Not your lowest low, but like
just back to
all
average.
really wanted to be good.
Back to average,
yeah. But we all would have wanted this to be like a
right.
remake, 2022 remake of the 1930.
And as soon as I saw that it starts in 1917, I'm like, fuck.
Like, oh yeah, here we go.
But then they still could have been.
They still could have followed the storyline, but like
proper adaptation, not a remake of the other two films.
Yeah,
yeah, proper adaptation. Like they missed the mark on that, and they went so far from it that it's not favorable in my opinion. So yeah,
it's like if U-571 was called Das Boot, and it was,
right?
Yes, and it was
like I said, Forrest Gump, but it's 2037.
Yes,
like in the future.
Live, die, repeat.
Yep. So, all right.
I'm laughing at my own joke.
Oh God. Well, hope that you guys enjoyed another episode of Scuttlebutt, and see you next week. Thanks, Sean, for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon. All these links are in the description below. Until the next time, Scuttlebutt out.
All right, Brian.
We head back into the trenches this
What
week.
the fuck was that?
Yeah,
Try that again.
You got to restart that shit. You can't be like scoff
Nate's
reading.
dying in the corner.
Try that again.
You can't scoff read. You
I
can't
won't.
do that.
I won't moan into your ears. Okay.
I just won't. You're not here, Nate.
Shut the fuck up. Shut. Yeah.
Maybe I put this at the end of the Mel Gibson screamings. Maybe that's where I put all these fucking out things from now on.
We head back into the trenches this week with Edward Burgers,
20 fuck you.
Weird. Brian fucked up the intro. Weird.
Well, thanks, Sean. We head back into the
I'm
trenches
literally
this
just
week
on my phone.
with Edward Berger's 2022 adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front. As always, I'm joined by Mike A.